Warning: the following audio may contain coarse language and other materials that may not be suitable for a younger audience. The opinions expressed in this audio are solely those of the speakers involved. These conversations may contain spoilers for current media such as games, comics, movies, television shows, and more. Grown Geeks makes no claim to ownership of the various media discussed, simply the opinions expressed. Listener discretion is advised.
All right.
Yup.
Welcome. We are Grown Geeks. This is Weigh In Wednesday. You are awesome for being here. What's going on, people? Happy Wednesday. We are here to discuss and talk about a very fun subject today.
Oh, yeah.
Very fun subject. Across the Spider-Verse.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I am looking forward to having this discussion. And I can now say, I see exactly what you mean, Jeff. I see exactly what you mean.
Right. Like, it's like, if I just felt like I would have been doing you a disservice by going into like extreme detail before you saw the movie.
Even light detail would have been like there was not a proper way to discuss that. Oh, look at this. I've already got the ticker ready. All I got to do is click it.
Hey.
Boom. Because we knew last week we was going to be talking about this. We knew this conversation was coming. So let me go ahead. Let's see. We've got it up. We are live right now across Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
Yeah.
So let me share the Twitch stream just so I can know that it is being advertised. Nope, don't want to report. Let's don't want to report. That's not what we do.
Crazy.
Hey, what's going on, Tiff? Auntie Tig in the house.
Come on. There we go.
Been enjoying a little bit of back and forth with Auntie Tig over on TikTok. She got some. I laugh at Tiffany's content. It's so funny. All her expressions. Her day-to-day at work gets to be quite interesting. Apparently, she has some unique customers. She had a MomoCon post and had everything. She did the Sailor Scouts. She and a friend of hers post some stuff. Yes, we are going to talk about the mug. Let's go ahead and just throw that up there. This is the custom mug that I got from Gingy Art.
Okay.
Who I saw at MomoCon. And it's got Elder Geek Sam on it, and it's got the correct Superman symbol. And this is sandblasted. Sandblasted.
It's nice.
So Gingy, Gingee, Gingy Art. She had a booth at MomoCon. I stopped in and we talked, and it was it's kind of cool. She saw the shirt, saw what I had on, and we talked, and I found her. She does have an Instagram. She doesn't have any other social media, but she does have an Instagram. So I was able to find that, and want to give her a shout out because my mug is awesome. So I now have another mug to add to my other video collection. So. But surprisingly, we're not here to talk about Superman today. We are here to talk about Spider-Man. Miles Morales, Brooklyn's one and only Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And the first, we're just gonna hop right in. We'll get to the other stuff as it comes up naturally, but we're gonna get right into Spider-Verse. The first movie, Into the Spider-Verse, was such a dope film to begin with. The sequel did not disappoint. It was an amazing film. I enjoyed it.
They 2 for 2.
It was great. I would give it. Honestly, it's kind of weird because I went into the movie and I did not know going in that it was automatically going to be a to be continued.
Yeah.
Yeah, me either.
That hurts. That hurts. Every time that happens, that hurts. Spoiler, when I went to go see Fast X, I did not know that was going to be a multi-part. And then you get right there towards the end, and I was like, wait. Okay, so when we see the brother, he's gonna help get the kid back, and then the kid gets back, and they switch the vehicles and whatnot, and then like the missiles get locked or whatever, and what's Dom's brother?
John Cena.
Yeah, John Cena, when the missiles get locked in his vehicle, and he's just like, it's been a pleasure riding with you, Dom. I was like, wait a minute, hell no. Nah. There ain't enough time left in this to finish this movie. We got a question for you. Ooh, what you drawing?
I'll show at the end.
Right. That's been a nice little teaser. He uses this time to complete art and posts at the end. And we have to make a point to post a link for you at the end so that people can reach out and contact if anybody wants to pick up those drawings, that artwork they can. Do you still have the Spider-Verse work you've done?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, those are going to be worth picking up, and I don't know. I need to go back and look again because I may have to have me a Hobie. That was
Yeah.
I might have to have Hobie. That was what's up.
Oh, actually, you know what? I got something just for that. Watch. Wait.
Oh. And so. Yeah, so coming into this movie, I would say that's probably the only thing that keeps this from being a perfect 10 film. I don't think it was too this, too that. I enjoyed every moment of it. I had my moments where I was able to get very hype. Actually, yeah, I do understand that was something that people had issue with. Now, were you having issue because of the audio in your theater, or was it just because of his Hockney speak? Because he's British, and the way he talks, it had that little accent. Okay, so it was the accent.
Yeah, I was gonna say because when I was watching it, I watched soccer.
There it is. There it is. Yeah,
Right.
so I'm gonna have to acquire that. I'm gonna have to get one of those. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. No, I was saying, even when I watch a lot of like soccer and soccer content, which is mostly British, and so like I was picking up on it, but even I was like struggling a little bit. And that's somebody who I watch probably some sort of British TV show or like YouTube show like damn near every day, and so. I could see if you don't watch anything British, you're not picking up on the slang and the like rhythm. I could see his voice work, but it was like really good because it was like really like
that was his natural accent.
Yeah, he was just playing him.
Right.
No, that's not how he talks though. That's not actually how like Daniel Kaluuya talks. Like. He was actually talking like a British like punk artist, which is very different than like kind of the more, I don't want to say roadman, but it's kind of like what would be considered like black, like hood British culture over there. It sounds very different from what he was doing in this.
Now I did see something, and he was actually saying that there was something he studied, and he was specifically looking for like a punk dialect, so to speak, and that's what you're referring to. Whereas now with Daniel Kaluuya actually being a British actor, you could think of it like maybe the way Idris Elba sounds when he gets to just be a British speaking person, the way he might sound in like Luther, or when he was in Hobbs and Shaw and he was, I'm Black Superman. You know what I'm saying? Like he's got that accent, you hear it, but that's probably the first thing that comes to mind. Whereas the specific phrases that were used, the things that Spider-Punk was saying, it was geared specifically to the anarchist culture of punk music in Britain. And he did mention that he was going specifically for that. But I just meant in terms of not having Daniel Kaluuya have to do an American accent and speak like American English. Him being able to at least speak in a natural voice. That was actually my draw on that, was that he was able to use a regular speaking voice as opposed to having to put on an American accent. Same with like John Boyega.
Even the regional thing though can be difficult, you know, because we've being from the South, we've heard some bad Southern accents on TV. We've heard some people who, you know, doing accents, and you're supposed to be from California, but you sound like you're from New York. So even within like your own dialect or language,
even people who like when you just take like you said, people from New York versus the South, but even in the South, you have different South. You have like the Houston South, then you have like the Southeast South, like the Georgia South and the Tennessee South,
White South,
the Mississippi South.
Like
exactly. And it's funny because that reminds me of the like we had something posted in our Facebook group earlier. You can click that QR code there and you can find our Facebook group there. You can check out all this different stuff. Somebody it was actually on the post of the shirt you made. So I probably have at least 4 or 5 shirts in my closet that Jeff has designed or had a hand in designing. And you were talking about one. There's a video that we have posted, and it's like it talks about this young lady doing a little skit, and she's talking about Black Panther and Falcon when they are having a conversation with Rhodey about having been blipped away during the 5-year blip. Doctor Strange comes in, he's going to try to coordinate the attack, and they're like, ooh, what we should do is like I should fly through and, you know, like let me call Cap and be like, on your left, it's an inside joke, but it'll be great. And then like Black Panther should go out first. He's like, you know what? We got a lot of people we got to get. Are we really trying to like coordinate? We want to be extra. And it was just like in the video, she kept saying like dead ass. And like somebody had a comment on that, and they were saying that like, you know, oh, this is racially insensitive. I was like, no, this is parody. This is humor. Humor is subjective. If you feel some kind of way about it, but then I clicked on the person's profile and went to look, and I was like, let me just send them a message because we just gonna go ahead and try to eliminate this before it's an issue. But no, that's the first thing that comes to mind. And the way people talk in different areas, it does make a difference. And that was something that was actually really important for the character. And I think it made a big difference for the character of Spider-Punk. You know, with him not just being another Black Spider-Man, but specifically him being an anarchist, and fight against the establishment. And even just the little things he says throughout. God, I need more screen time for him. Like I can't wait to get to the next one to get more.
It is criminal that he was not in the movie as much as I would have liked. It is criminal.
Right. They
talking about carry the movie on your back. God.
Absolutely, did us a disservice.
I think like I mean, I feel like we kind of hopping all around, and this may be a comment that would be more for like in more in depth conversation. But
Nah,
I
you're right.
also really like um, Miles and his like relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that is something that a lot of black people kind of experience when you're the only black person for a while,
Yeah.
and it creates a certain
Like
comfort and a
yeah.
certain rhythm.
Like there's a clear understanding when the other person
Yeah,
walks in the room.
yeah. And it's like when that other person walks in the room, it's 50-50 on how it's gonna go.
Right.
Right. Now, and
On
it
if
usually starts off with a head nod. You look, they look, you lock eyes, you nod the head. The
right.
way they nod back is going to tell you what you
If
need to
they
know.
nod back. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Right.
And I think, even just the whole handling of like, the teenage, this is right in my wheelhouse, teenage coming of age, the lost lessons of how to respond when you find out your girl ain't your girl. You know what I mean? Like it's a hard lesson to learn.
Yeah.
And that's a hard way to find out.
Especially, I was about to say, especially when you got to find out like that.
Yeah.
When somebody else
And
has to tell you that's not your girl.
and so it really, I think, just like overall, like for me, I I can't think of a better animated experience that I've ever had watching anything. Um, in turn, just the art choices, the decisions of the way that they made to show like now we're seeing different worlds, and I think that the MCU actually can kind of learn something from this in how they very much like if you it was kind of an Easter egg for comic book fans where it's like if you're familiar with the Spider Gwen comics, you know that her world had that very painterly brush style off of the early comic covers that kind of were a staple for the Spider Gwen. And so Miles's world felt more like graffiti because he was a graffiti writer. Like Miguel's world felt super all futuristic, and even just like the way that they animated, the way that they rendered within each world, the way they rendered different things like explosions, and it just was such a it was one of the most inspiring things that I've personally seen. Like it literally made me want to just like turn a lamp on and start drawing in the theater while I was watching. So I really like can't say enough about this film. I can't wait till it comes out on like whatever streaming platform it's going to come out on so I can watch it again at home. Um, Highly recommend it to any and everyone, whether you do or don't like animation, whether you have or haven't seen the first one. Like, I think it's definitely like worth your time, just in the time and the care in which I think they put in the story as well, because it's like it's very easy for something like this to become a visual feat, right?
Right.
And not be like a story thing like Avatar, where it's like nobody cares about the story of whatever these blue people are. It looks cool, and if
The
I go see
Navi.
it in IMAX, cool, but like I don't care about what happens to anybody in this film, really. And I care about what happens to like most of the people, most of the characters in Spider-Verse. So the way that they told the story is one of those things where they're both supporting each other. The style and the animation is supporting the story. The story is supporting the animation. They're writing something that really needs that depth of creativity.
Right.
But then the creative people are actually coming. They're meeting the task of like giving these writers something like crazy and imaginative to like work with them building this world. Sorry, I know I was like very long.
No. I mean,
No,
because like
it's great.
you absolutely have a different insight as an artist and creator yourself. You would view the movie somewhat differently than David would view it, than I would view it. You know what I'm saying? Like I am fortunate to have the perspective to be able to view it as, a father of young black men. So I take something very specific away from the movie that is, unique, and that offers me a little bit more perception into certain parts of the movie. The relationship he has with, his parents, his mom, um, even his uncle, and when we see that in, the latter part of the film, when he sees his uncle Aaron and the way he interacts there, all of that is I think that's a big part of the character of Miles, and I think that's something that, you know gets to be addressed. I think David, you would probably have a unique perspective, and the lens you would view it from might be a little different. In fact, what lens would you think you would probably view it from? What perspective are you able to see?
So I actually thought about this for a while after seeing the movie, and I don't know quite what it would be described as. It's like I want to relate to Miles, but then I have this other character that I can relate to that just pops up, and I've seen him for all of like 20 minutes, and it's a weird feeling just coming out of that movie. I don't know how to like. Don't get me wrong, I love the movie a lot, but it was just, I don't know. I felt like I couldn't quite relate to it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, but I like I said, just still fantastic movie. It just kind of made it harder to give it like a perfect score in my head for some reason.
And that's fine. And actually, we're gonna set a little layout here because our conversation could just be conversation, but since we are trying to also count this as a movie review, so to speak, we're just going to discuss the film, but we'll turn it into a movie review as well. Um, let's kind of go through just a basic um, review of it. Let's find favorite parts and things that were good. What did you like the most? What was good? Of course, we can't talk about good without talking about bad. And it doesn't have to be something that you harp on. What could they have changed? What could they have done better? We'll just call those flaws. I'm not even going to call it bad. We'll just call them flaws. And then let's do an overall score, and then we'll get into some final thoughts. Sound good?
Yeah, I'm with it.
All right. So Jeff has talked about the imagery and the visuals. It seems to be inspiration for art, and I think since it is a movie that like really gets into the multiverse and traversing the multiverse, there's some really good breakdown videos available on other platforms. You can go and you can find those. Some people, that's their job, so they do really good at it. I'll personally give a shout out Screen Crush. I like the way Ryan Airy goes through, and the recap that he did, I think was perhaps most telling. And one of the things that was pointed out, and this is something Jeff just brought up, the different art styles for the different Spider-Verses. So for each different universe they go to, of course, they refer to this one as 616. They have a little joke about, Earth 1999999, which of course is the MCU universe. And of course, he talks about the Spider-Man there and what's going on with Doctor Strange, of course, Multiverse of Madness.
Right.
But I feel like the multiverse is the kind of concept that's not as foreign and people aren't as afraid to tackle it. It doesn't mean everybody does it right and everybody doesn't necessarily do a good job, but they're not afraid to get into it a little bit more. And I think as we go on, we're going to see more and more of that because, of course, the Flash movie that's coming up, that deals with the multiverse. Anybody who watches Arrowverse, they might have seen Crisis on Infinite Earths. That was, of course, a multiverse story and things. So this particular series, Across the Spider-Verse, if you saw the first one, you kind of got an introduction, and they made it make sense the first time out. They really kept it simple, gave you the high notes, and brought you up to speed. In the second movie, Across the Spider-Verse, they don't have to give you that breakdown. And so one of the first things that I recall noticing was in the first movie, everything was kind of from Miles' perspective. and every time somebody introduced themselves, they were the one and only Spider-Man. And we just kept doing that little bit over and over and over. The one and only Spider-Man, one and only Spider-Man, one and only Spider-Man. Well, you get to the end of that movie, you realize there's more than one Spider-Man. After we get to the utopian society that 2099 Spider-Man was at, when we get to that universe where all of the spider people are, you see that pretty much everybody in there is going to have that same origin story. So because they're going to have that same origin story, there has to be a way to kind of make them different. And the people that they focused on, you were able to really get to see a different art style used for each one of those characters. And that was something that I thought was done beautifully. Even though we only got a little bit of Spider-Punk, every time Hobie was on screen, his image looked like it was just digitally layered in. His looked like newspaper art.
Yeah, it was like collage. It was just
Yeah.
It was just like every frame, every animation frame, he changed to a different animation style. Just on some like, it was like that episode. Have you seen that episode of Bob's Burger?
Yeah.
Where every scene is
Was
a different animation
yeah,
style.
yeah.
And so
Yes.
just going throughout the whole episode, it's like the same story, but it's just like from one angle in the diner, they look like this. And then
Yeah.
move angle. It was just like that, but like on crack.
Yeah. And of course, it does raise the question, something that was brought up. If when a character goes from their universe into another universe, do you think they maintain their imagery, or do you think they adapt to the imagery of the
Well,
world?
that's why they have the bracelets, because the bracelets keep you in your own, like, you know what the bracelets are like? The bracelets are like the universal translators on Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
We all hear English, but the Vulcans are hearing everybody speak in Vulcan. The Romulans are hearing everybody speak in Romulan. So it's
Right.
kind of like that. You put the bracelet on, you stay in it stabilizes you so that you can be in another universe. In a different animation style. Because like when the Spot goes into like Lego version, he doesn't turn into like a Lego person. You know what I mean? But that's why they start glitching, because the glitching is like you got to get on mode, to quote.
Right. You have to adjust.
Yeah.
The universe is trying to adjust itself when it sees the anomaly.
You're the anomaly.
Yeah.
I just think that it would be, and we may get an opportunity to see something like this because if we get to go by the end of the movie, they are in a different universe. They're not back in 616, whichever universe was supposed to be Miles's universe. They're not in that universe. They're in universe 42, which is the universe that the spider came from.
Right.
But that's not his universe. And so in that universe, 2 Miles exist, and that whole segment and scene was great because, again, that was just one of those moments as a father I could relate to that. I was like, oh, okay, so this is what happens. This is how easy it is to go this route versus that route. And, being there matters. And that's one of those moments. But when we see that universe, it's kind of washed in that purple from this, for the Prowler, versus the graffiti style for Miles' universe. And then, like we said, the pastel colors in Gwen's universe. But if Miles somehow makes it to that universe, I kind of want to see him washed in that pastel as opposed to sitting out or standing out separately.
So if you remember in the first one, Spider Noir comes into the real world. He still looks like himself,
right?
But he's glitching.
Right.
Same with Peter Porker and everybody else. So I think it's one of those things where it's just like you're gonna stand out, but not so much that people think it's weird. Because nobody look twice at like the anime girl. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? She like no human in that world even
Penny
like, looks like
Parker.
her.
She was just normal.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be a thing more of like the world, the way the world illuminates the characters helps them also feel like they're not just like copy and paste. Like the only one that felt copy paste was Hobie, and I think that was like 1000% on purpose. But because his was so prominent, it made you start looking at like the differences in the other ones where you weren't really necessarily looking for that in the first one. And then there's others where it's just like they're very similar, right? So like Miguel O'Hara was able to go to Peter B. Parker's universe and he don't look any different. He, you know what I'm saying? So I think there is some like kind of like, 42, right? When he
Right.
goes to World 42, obviously he looks enough like
His
that
mom,
Miles for
right?
his
His
mom
mom
to
was
just be
like,
like,
"Come on in."
exactly. But he gave himself away with the hug.
Yeah.
Like Uncle Aaron was like, "We don't do that, player."
He's like, "Hey, what?" So, but at the same time, I think it was also like the moment he looked at Miles, seeing that hair and everything, he knew that wasn't him.
Right.
Not only do we not do the hugs, but like you don't even look like you.
Right.
So, David, what were some of the highlights for you in this movie?
Well,
What would you put under your good category?
well, anything will help you, of course. Anything will help you, of course. But and this might sound kind of dark, but I like the existential crisis that Miles was having.
Oh no, that is what makes a coming of age for him in this particular case.
Right, and I was just about to say that, like, this is definitely a coming of age story for Miles, because it's kind of like he's just going through puberty. Like, there's a lot of confusion. Like, he feels like everybody's against him. He feels like he has to do this lone wolf thing. He's not wanting to reach out for help. It's, I don't know, in a weird way, it's kind of humbling.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when you're a 15-year-old who can bench press cars and climb up walls, and you decide to take on the responsibility of saving the city, it becomes
Frustrating at the very least.
at the very least. I mean, you think of it on the one hand, it's like you have that whole idea of with great power comes great responsibility. And
Yeah.
that's one of the basis for the character Spider-Man.
Right.
I think one of the reasons people like the character Spider-Man so much, and I mean, you hear this all the time, is Spider-Man is without a doubt one of the most relatable superheroes.
Right.
Because when I say my man has real problems, he
Real
has
problems.
real life problems.
Yeah.
Not, I'm Tony Stark and Justin Hammer is trying to do a corporate takeover and blah blah. Not like fantastic fanatic, problems that make for good stories. He has like, I can't pay rent.
Yeah.
He has
Yeah.
he has I got fired from my job.
My bike lost its wheel.
You know what I'm saying?
Like,
and
yeah.
even now, it's like I'm missing the meeting with the guidance counselor for this exclusive school that I'm in.
Right. It's almost like Spider-Man isn't a superhero comic, but it's like a slice of life comic with hero elements.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that goes into like the whole thing of like, I feel like the thesis statement of these movies is anyone can wear the mask. And so because anyone can wear the mask, like that doesn't mean like wearing the mask solves all your problems, because
Right.
this was not a situation where, it was like a Captain America where you went through all these tests and they've wanted to find this person and you went through a program and, you became Captain America. And this wasn't like Tony Stark, even where, I'm just a genius and I figured this out and I just ran with it. Or even the Hulk, again, trying to recreate Captain, all these other heroes. This is just like I was on a field trip and a spider bit me.
Right.
And so
and now these things have happened.
Right. And same thing with him. Because I was hanging out with my uncle. I got bit by a spider. And like now all this crazy stuff is happening. And so I really feel like it's doing a very good job of kind of challenging, because I feel like, Miles's whole creation was anybody can wear the mask in response to people basically being like, there can't be a black Spider-Man. And this movie is basically like, there can't be a black Spider-Man. And even in the way it ends with us seeing the world where Miles becomes the Prowler, it's like, this is who you're supposed to be. And that's like what Miguel is basically saying. Like, you're the anomaly because you're actually not supposed to be Spider-Man. You're supposed to be this. And
Yeah.
Miguel is just basically, Miles is basically just like, I'm tired of people telling me who I have to be. I'm tired of people trying to like write my story, And I think that is a very interesting element about like knowledge of the multiverse and how people just want to like categorize everything, right? So it's like, in order to be Spider-Man, you got to be this, and this, and you have to have this. Like, he's literally like a fanboy at this point, and he's deciding who is and who isn't Spider-Man's, and he's making sure that every Spider-Man has the exact same trauma or goes to the exact same things, because if you don't, then your whole world is going to like be destroyed, all because he made one bad decision. He made one selfish decision. You know what I mean? And so
now that's something that definitely is going to fall under my good, but I will bring it up again when we get to what I would call flaws. I think the canon moments,
the canon events
are, that's a unique concept in storytelling. Especially when you talk about movies with like time travel or anything like that. And for those people who watched Marvel's What If, the what's that lady's name? The Doctor Strange's boss. She talks about
the ancient one.
Thank you, the ancient one. The ancient one talks about an absolute point in time, and that absolute point in time is what equates to the canon events. And the canon events are absolute points in time, and they're the same events that take place in, like when you go to Loki and you talk about the sacred timeline and things like that. And in a sense, it's different names for the same thing. But ultimately, it's just saying that when these things happen or when these things don't happen, it changes the timeline. And so, of course, it's one of those questions where, and this is why I put this under flaw, because it opens the doorway for those people who choose to go down that rabbit hole, to like start questioning the way that this story is canonically connected to all the other Marvel and MCU items. And of course, it's like, it is Sony Pictures. Is it Sony Animation specifically? And because Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man, even though that's a Marvel character, of course, the way that they interact with Spider-Man is different now. Because we have Tom Holland in the MCU, there is a Spider-Man canonically in the MCU. So in the same universe that has Loki and Kang and the Ancient One, where they all talk about the sacred timeline and these absolute points in time, these canon events technically are the same thing. The only difference with the canon events is that they are specific to Spider-Man, or that universe is Spider-Man. So it seems as long as the canon event lines up for that universe's Spider-Man to not deviate from the sacred timeline, there would be no intervention by Kang, the TVA, or the Ancient One to have to protect that particular timeline due to the canon events. So, having said that, the flaw is there has to be a crossover with Kang, the TVA, and the Sacred Timeline, because some of those events are not going to affect the Sacred Timelines, and some of them are. And so it's just one of those things where it's like the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing because it's the same but different. You know what I'm saying? Since it's the Sony Pictures, they don't have to deal with it. They don't have to worry about it. But of course,
Right.
since it's connected through, since we had Spot jumped into Venom's world, Venom crossed over to the MCU. That makes Venom canonically tied to the MCU. The mention of Earth 19999 and Doctor Strange makes that canonically tied to this Spider-Verse movie. So now it's like that could be the kind of thing that causes incursions.
Yeah.
So if we keep it simple for the average moviegoer, the way they did it is perfect and it makes great sense. For those of us who would fall down that rabbit hole, myself included, it's just one of those things like that. How are you gonna fix that? How would you address that?
So, I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's like you could say the same thing about just even the Loki series, right? It's just like, okay, so now that the TVA exists, what if Miguel people? Like I think we look at it from the standpoint of like the MCU being the Holy Grail or the, I guess, central canon carrier for a lot of stuff now. But the reality is they just let some good creative people write this movie. They'll figure it out. Like,
oh yeah,
because even the fact that I feel like them allowing Donald Glover to put on the Prowler costume, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the Donald Glover from the MCU, but we've seen a character named Aaron, played by Donald Glover, talk about his nephew in the Spider-Man movie once before. So,
correct.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things where it's like you can choose to think about it if you want to, and if you don't, it doesn't ruin the experience.
Not at all.
And if it doesn't make sense now, it will in due time.
That it will.
And Feige we trust.
I will say, like, to your point about Donald Glover, I feel like we've discussed before, and I'm trying to remember what we were talking about at the time, but we've discussed before when it comes to the variants, you could have, so the character is Aaron Davis. Now, if you've got all these different universes, in some universes, Aaron Davis is Aaron. You know, he's going to be two Aaron's with two A's. He's going to look like Donald Glover. Other times, he's going to be tall, slim, and look like Uncle Aaron in animated form. There's going to be some live action versions that are going to look like the animated version. There's going to be some animated versions that look like Donald Glover. Because canonically, it is just the character of Aaron Davis who would exist in each universe. I want to say it might have been we were talking about WandaVision, because we were talking about Nexus beings, and the thing is, like, you know, if Wanda was a Nexus being, how are there two Wandas? You know what I'm saying? Like, she's supposed to be the same in every universe, but it's just the matter of her being a Nexus being simply means that she will look like that being in every universe
and have those powers
and have the right.
Yeah.
So, wow, I just realized I've been moving this microphone and it is not the microphone that is on. So I don't, you know what? I don't even know what microphone is picking me up, but I'm guessing y'all can hear me, so I ain't gonna mess with nothing right now.
No, that sounds good, bro.
Okay. But no, I was getting ready to move my microphone. I realized there's no cable in it. That's crazy. Always moving some stuff. I'm gonna stop moving stuff. But it is that that difference right there, that the option for those variants, that I'm with you, and I don't necessarily believe that the Aaron Davis we saw that was captured is the Earth 19999 Aaron Davis, because technically that Earth's Miles has not come out yet. He's not come out. He's
I
not
mean,
Spider-Man yet.
he's been mentioned in name though.
He has
And
been,
and
no,
and,
he
and
exists.
Prowler before.
Right. No,
he
no, no.
got
And
bit.
I get that part, but I'm just saying, like, he does not have the powers of Spider-Man at that time. Or depending on when this takes place, because this would be one of
Or
those
maybe
things where,
Miguel is trying to keep the Miles from the MCU universe from getting bit by the spider.
ooh, there you go.
Hmm.
Or maybe that
Yeah,
was the
hater.
Miles. Maybe that was the Miles that was supposed to be bit by the spider. He was supposed to get the spider from Earth 42. Instead, it went to animated Miles, not live action Miles. Like, it could. I mean, any number of hypotheses are available for it.
Nah, I could pretty much say I don't feel like Miguel wanted Miles to get bit by any spider in any universe.
You think Miguel was just hating on Miles in general?
Well,
Yeah.
because yeah, I think he looked at it too because okay, think about it like this: he goes to a new universe and becomes friends with Peter B. Parker and all that stuff like that, right? Now he watches another Peter Parker die, who I feel like in a lot of people's minds, they kind of wrote him as like the OG for real Peter Parker, right?
Right.
And so he died because I think he said he messed up a canon event or something like that by being there that night and getting bit by the spider or whatever it was. He wasn't supposed to be there. Like he was not he's swatting all spiders. He's spraying Miles with off deep. He's like citronella candles. He don't want no spider nowhere near Miles. In any
Yeah, it was the
universe.
Super Collider. That was the canon event that was altered
Right.
as a result. And interestingly enough, it's kind of one of those questions where it's like, or one of the other things that comes to mind is from that, it was the Super Collider event that opened up their multiverse. Now, in the Spider-Man canon, that multiverse existed before that took place, because across the Spider-Verse you have what's the Spider-Man game, David? Shattered Dimensions.
Yeah.
Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, and you are working for Madam Spider.
Mm-hmm.
You go back to the old animated series, they did a Spider-Verse crossover thing back then. So the concept of the Spider-Verse is not new. The creation of Miles Morales came from the Ultimates universe, and that's where Miles Morales was actually created. With the Super Collider event, if that Peter Parker had been able to stop Kingpin and prevent the Super Collider event, what would Miguel be doing? Would he still be going, like, is this team only formed because the Collider event took place and the multiverse is now open?
No, I thought he said he already knew about the multiverse because he tried to do the whole thing where he just tried to slide into another man's whole life,
Right.
and then it didn't work.
The Miguel that died there, he filled in,
Right.
damaged that canon event, and
but that wasn't because of the Super Collider. So I feel like it's one of things like this, right? Like in the first movie, all of the Spider-Mans that we met they were just now finding out that there is a multiverse.
Right.
But there were other Spider-Men who knew that there was the multiverse, and they were already so. Miguel already knew that there was a multiverse. He was all because at the end of the first one, he's sitting at that big ass computer, like monitoring something. Like he's the like Easter egg at the end of the first movie. So he really, I think he's already like monitoring the situation, and especially like once Miles gets bit. But why now? The real question is, okay, then why y'all didn't like pop through a portal and help somebody out, help it go the right way?
Right.
If it's a canon event, then you should have been there trying to preserve it the same way you were trying to keep Miles from like saving them people in the Indian Spider-Man world.
See, it's just, and it's one of those things where it's like, you got a 4-year. Miles has been Spider-Man now for about 3-4 years. At the end of the first movie, as we get into the next movie, it's one of those really weird things because it's like while they
I thought
don't
it was 1 year.
No, the time frame between Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, it's like let's see. He has a growth spurt. It's like a 2-year time period.
Okay.
For the duration of like when that movie starts to the end of that movie, and then as we get into this movie, because at the beginning of this movie, there's already that gap. He's 15, and he's going through normal 15-year-old situations. In the course of that last year, I'm wondering how many additional situations have occurred as a result of the super collider. And when because that's what Miguel says, it's like, the super collider event created it ripped a hole in the multiverse. And now, of course, everybody can like move across, and that's even where Spot comes in, as far as like how he starts off here, takes place there, and then as he's trying to, he's dealing with everything and the stuff that happened to him over the course of that last year. DJ's chiming in here, says a year has passed. He was in 10th grade in the first movie, and of course in this movie, he's in 10th grade in this movie. He was in the 9th grade in the first movie. So that 1-year time period there.
All right, what's the next flaw? Are we talking about flaws, right?
Yeah, we're just covering things that and the thing is, like, none of these are really like bad, but just things that could be improved. Jeff,
I'm gonna say the only flaw that I really had was, I feel like the ending was just, I like the reveal, but I think that the way that it ended was kind of muddled. I was listening to another podcast that suggested this, so I'm not going to try to steal credit as my own, but I think like if it's going to be a 2-part movie, you just end it with him getting back to his world, and then you can show like a scene where it's maybe hinted at that he's in the wrong world. And maybe we don't find out that this is a world where he's the Prowler until the next movie. You know what I mean? I'm coming back. Like, you don't gotta hook me. I'm coming back. But we just know he's in his world, and maybe it just ends with him like in the room with his mom or something like that. And we can find all that other stuff out in like the beginning of the third movie. But I would say like that, even with that, I was like, oh, so there's gonna be more. Cool. Like, I was over the fact that it didn't wrap up like within 10 seconds. So I definitely I can't think of
the funny thing for me there is I would definitely put the ending on the to be continued ending definitely comes in as a flaw for me, and that's what keeps it at a 9.5. there was obviously a lot of story to tell, but this was also a really long movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But I don't mind a long movie. As long as it's not a whole bunch of fluff.
right.
And I tried to think of like what they could have cut from this movie, and maybe like some of the vulture scene, but I feel like that's a cool introduction to like Miguel and the
Yeah.
rest of the team. But like, yeah, no, I feel like a lot of times what a lot of comic book movies do is they want to get the action shots, they want to recreate those like famous panels, those
Right.
famous covers, but they really slack on the emotion and slack on like the conversations that happen in comic books that I think a lot of readers who
Yeah.
read comics are drawn to. You know, I think a lot of artists like myself, we are drawn to the like flash and the imagery and all that stuff. But eventually, like as you're reading it, I mean, that's one of the reasons why Spider-Man is such an endearing character, because you read some of the conversations that he has with villains, with Mary Jane, with his family, even people who tried to kill him versus, you know, people who don't even know they've tried to kill him before, you know, as Peter Parker, you just see him balancing, you know, all these different emotionally weighted stories as well. And I think, you know, like the conversation between Gwen and her dad when she comes back was like something I feel like a lot of people would just like, all right, yeah, whatever. Like she comes back and they talk, but like that was a long conversation. And you know, when you jump into an interdimensional portal after I find out you're like a, a vigilante who I've been chasing for years for the death of your best friend, that needs to be a long conversation when you get back. And
Yeah.
you know, the conversations with like him and with Miles and his mom, there's a long conversation that needed to be long because, you know, if you want it to be real, it's got to be real. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
Right. Yeah.
And I'll agree. I
it was long though.
It was a long movie.
It was long. I ain't trying to argue that point, but
David,
I guess I'm more in like sometimes shit need to be long,
and I get that, and I'm with you
and I
as
think
far as
you
like
agree. I think you would agree with that too.
absolutely, and I'm not. I don't take points away for it being long. I did not take points away for it being long. I take points away for it being to be continued.
Yeah.
You just had me sitting here for damn near 3 hours. Wrap it up.
Right.
That's where that comes from. Now, you probably could have held my attention for another hour, no problem, because I was entertained as hell.
Yeah.
So it's like we go through all that, and you still got 2 more hours of story to tell. That's where that feeling comes from. So David, give me some good, and where did you find flaws?
Okay. Well,
Because I know
I
you
mean,
were saying
shit.
you had a slightly different perspective. So
Yeah.
I need to hear what you're
And-
thinking, what you're feeling.
And I've been thinking about that ever since I said it at the top of the show. And I've been kind of weighing it out in my head, but we'll get to that in a minute. So I can't say enough good things about this damn movie. It's so good, right? Like even with my flaws, and I feel like I don't want to say they're big flaws. I say they're like medium flaws, right?
Okay.
But it feel like I just had so much fun at the movie, just experiencing the movie, that those flaws, while I believe that they really needed to work on those, I would have been fine with it. I could have just said like, this is just a nitpick.
Okay.
So for instance, like just to tell you how much I enjoyed the movie, I didn't realize almost 3 hours had passed. I thought we were still in the middle of the movie.
Yeah.
That's how much I was enjoying it, because my concept of time was off. I was having so much fun in the movie, but that's also kind of a negative. It just I can't say anything but good things about this movie. Just like, but I do have the flaws, so let's get to that. There are certain, like, there's parts of the movie that happens, like you have like your beginning, you have the apex of your climax, and then you have your end, right? I
Right.
don't feel like the action or the situations in the movie a lot of the time, it didn't feel like it got to the apex of the action. Like there were good fight scenes, they're great, but it didn't quite get up here. It's like it was building up. It was like a tease, right?
Okay.
Because it felt like the fight scenes didn't really hit as hard, and that was something that I praised in the first movie, because every scene had impact. Like, you know, the action scenes, Miles, you know, becoming into his own, he's coming into his own Spider-Man, you know, the hello, what's up, danger, right?
Okay.
And I don't feel like Across the Spider-Verse hit just as hard. I felt like it was a little bit weaker.
I can.
And
Okay.
I and it could be that there's so many subplots happening at the same time that probably lessened the impact for me. But that's I would say that's the least, the like it's the smaller of my issues with the movie. And again, these are very small, maybe medium-sized issues. Like, just please don't take what I'm saying as like this is a deal breaker for me. I
No,
just felt
I
like it
get
could
that.
do it a little bit better. And that's why I think I used the wrong word at the top of the show. I said it was unrelatable. I think a better word would be unbelievable. I guess would
Okay.
be
Okay.
the thing, which leads me into my second flaw. Miguel himself was a little bit too aggressive towards Miles, I think, considering that he's trying to stop the thing that he done in the past, like, you know, broke the canon events, right? And saw what happened with that. I would think that he would be a little bit more sympathetic to Miles's Miles's troubles that he's having here.
Definitely should have come across with, more understanding and more
Yeah.
comfort, as opposed to, this is all your fault. I
Right.
did something bad and screwed up, and now it's all because, nah, bro, you screwed up on your
Right.
own.
And I think that's why, like, as much as I loved seeing Miguel there, I felt like he was just a little bit too the aggressor, because he had like, you know, little jabs at everybody, um, but specifically towards Miles, because he already knows the information that Miles doesn't. But
Right.
why are you at his neck for something that he doesn't even know about?
Yeah.
I
And then
feel like
I feel like it was one of those things where it's like, this kid is so optimistic.
right,
Like, there's no way he's going to find out about this and let us tell him he's not going to be able to be a part of it because he's like an anomaly. And then also, you know, like, once he finds out, like, you're going to have, like, I feel like he was trying to do that thing like people do with dogs where it's like, don't get out of here. Like,
yeah,
and Miles was just like, no, but like, I don't understand like why I can't be here. And rather than like having but I like that because that is very like adult with a teenager move to like,
right,
it's just like, if you just sat down and talked to him and explained what was going on, he's mature enough to be able to like make his own decisions about it. But
right,
you're
like,
trying to
trust him to
control
run out
his
here and save
reaction.
lives.
Right.
You're not taking his spider powers away.
Right. But you're trying to control his actions, and they feel that, but they don't know why you're trying to control what I'm trying to do. So now you're just being weird, and now you're just a weird adult. You're a
Right.
weird ass old man that's just like in here yelling at me, and we never met before today.
right.
Right.
And it's like, even from like the first scene that they were like in together, and he did this with Gwen too. He just turn one, he's just aggressing, like he's aggressing at Miles, he's aggressing at Gwen, even though they have no idea what the hell's going on at that point. But he's so mad at them for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they definitely did a good job of making Miguel the asshole, so that it made it easier for you to paint him as the villain as the movie continues on.
Right. But then but I'm also thinking about it as like, maybe it was a little too much. And it didn't feel like a real situation. Like, I mean, obviously it's a Spider-Man movie, and it's like, multi-dimensional shit going on. But it didn't feel like that would be a really
Like, who the
believable
fuck will
reason.
follow this dude?
Yeah,
what spider? What it? I think it was one of those where like you never got that like, yeah, I'm just a chill guy or I'm a nice guy, yada yada, and then eventually it's like, no, you can't fucking be a part of this. Kind of the way like even in the first one with like Peter B. Parker, where he was like, all right, cool, yeah, I'm going to be your mentor, and we're swinging through the trees, and then at the end it's like you tied up, like, or if you can't turn invisible, or if you can't get out of this, then you can't come with us. And
that's something.
And Miguel never had that like mentorship thing, and it's kind of just like
I was literally thinking mentor moment.
So and that's kind of where I'm conflicted on it too, because of the fact that Miguel didn't have that. He's just kind of going off of what he knows, and working himself to death over this thing. And everything that I've said about him, like everything between him and Miles and him and Gwen, could be it could be very much explained away as he's been at this for a long time. He's tired, right?
Yes,
right.
But he also has to realize at some point that this is a responsibility that he took on himself.
Yeah,
like he very much volunteered for this, and because he already experienced that thing firsthand, so he's trying to avoid it in another universe. But think about it like this: who made you the boss?
And more importantly, and I'm sure we'll get to this part, but literally, who made you the boss?
Yeah,
I need that backstory.
Right. And then just the whole time Miguel was on the screen and just interacting with every single other Spider-Man, it feels like a very extreme version of Old Man Yells at Cloud.
Yeah, which to be fair is a lot of like villains.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Lex Luthor basically.
Yeah.
Definitely J. Jonah Jameson.
And
but it was Jameson's yelling at Cloud is one done for humor. There is no major plot, and you still get to see at the end of the day, JJ is actually that dude, and he's got a good heart the whole nine.
Yeah,
but he causes legitimate problems for Spider-Man.
Yeah, of course.
Like he revealed his identity to the world in the Tom Holland one, and basically like ruined the life of like all of his friends, which which led to him having to cast a spell across multiple dimensions, basically erasing himself from existence.
Oh my! That thing that you just said just made me realize why I don't really care for Miguel right now. So with you have your antagonistic characters like J. Jonah Jameson and Lex Luthor. I think that's what I meant when I was saying that it's kind of unrelatable, because I know a Lex Luthor, I know a J. Jonah Jameson. I can point out people like that. I don't know somebody who would take the situation that Miguel was in to that extreme.
Okay.
I think that's what I was getting at, because like just hearing what Jeff was saying, it made it click. It made so much more sense.
When you brought up the initial point, as far as as we've been discussing, not seeing him as the mentor, him having attitude right from the jump,
right?
And it's like, if nothing else, when Miles comes in, super stoked, super happy, excited to be there.
He wants to help, right?
Right. That's the thing. Now, granted, you didn't reach out to him to invite him to the team. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
But he's here, and you're the head Spider-Man, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? You're 2099. You're that dude, apparently. Clearly not a Peter Parker per se. You're Miguel O'Hara. And there's obviously a difference in who Miguel O'Hara is. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He's a Spider-Man who is Spider-Man not because great power, great responsibility. He's a Spider-Man just because he's trying to take down the major corporations and that sort of thing. And when he goes to this other universe where he gets to have that, for lack of a better phrase, work-life balance, and he gets to have a family and that sort of thing, he steps into this other person's life. As a result of his decision, an entire universe is ghosted. He's obviously got some demons.
Right.
He's got some trauma that he's clearly not working through properly.
Right.
And as a result, yeah, he's probably just diving into the work, a workaholic, and all he does is this now. That's it. All he does is this. And it's one of those things, it's like, just thinking about some of the stuff other Spider-Man would say, like, I'm sure he stopped pulling his punches a long time ago.
Right.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, because he suffered the loss that he had, not only in his world, but also the loss of that entire universe, and to know that he's the cause of it. You know what I'm saying? He's got to carry the weight of that. So on the one hand, it's like, on the one hand, he is genuinely trying to stop Miles from making that mistake, but he's not explaining it to him that he's trying to stop him from making that mistake.
He's trying to little boy him.
Right. He's like, and that's the thing. He's not trying to help him stop from making that mistake. He is trying to prevent that.
Yeah, he's trying to contain the situation.
Right. He's trying to prevent that from happening on his own accord.
Right.
Now, Lawrence made a comment a moment ago, and he pointed out that having all those Spider-Man think Uncle Ben having to die was out of character. That both ways, because I definitely think that, Peter B. Parker makes the comment that half the people there are Spider-Man because Uncle Ben died. I think they were probably, I don't know if there's some sort of simulation thing that'll show this is what the world would be like if Uncle Ben hadn't died, and they would go on to become the villain. Because they would still have the powers, they would have the capabilities, they would have gotten wealthy being a wrestler and that sort of thing. They would have abused the great power,
right?
As they would have had no great responsibility. So I definitely understand how there are people there who can see how the impact of certain events shapes the Spider-Man. But I think that idea or that concept that you can only be Spider-Man if you've suffered this great loss.
Yeah.
I'm definitely Team Miles when it comes to that. Nah, bro. Like,
right.
We gonna do what we do. And if you Spider-Man, you're supposed to save the day. You know what I'm saying? But it's also like, as a comic reader, I do know that, movies like Flashpoint, the comic, the story Flashpoint exists. Spider-Man, One More Day, it exists. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are stories where it's just like, and Marvel Comics has had it. What if?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's very easy to picture what if.
So that's interesting to me, because it's like, I feel like the general like thought around time travel is time travel bad.
Right. Don't change shit.
Because if you change anything, who knows? So end of the day, like, overall, time travel bad. You only do it if you absolutely, absolutely must, and there's no other option, i.e. Infinity War, Endgame, whichever one of those movies they went back in time.
And what's funny is even with the one rule of time travel, even if you go back and something changes, if you have to go back and make that thing that you didn't want to happen to restore order, you got to do that. Because if you don't, you know what I'm saying? And it's
right.
And it's crazy to say, but it's like, imagine, and it's like, I would love to see. In fact, I'm sure it exists. I got to find it now I want to see it. I want to see a Flashpoint story of Spider-Man. I want Spider-Man to go back and save Uncle Ben, and I want to see how that plays out.
Well, what I was going to say was, it seems like they're trying to apply I think what it feels like for me is like Miles is looking at them like y'all are trying to apply time travel rules to the multiverse and saying that like yes, when you go back in time in your own dimension, you got to make sure everything happens exactly the same. But like when you come over here to my dimension, don't nothing over here have to happen the way it happened in your dimension. And I think it's a weird thing because I do think like what you were just saying about like a comic where Peter saves Uncle Ben. I'm sure there is something like that at some point, or somebody offers it to him, or something weird like that, right? And it's just like the lesson at the end of that comic is going to be don't change it.
Right.
Just keep everything the way that it was. But you're not going to tell me to sit on the sideline and watch people die, and I'm supposed to be Spider-Man, the greatest hero ever.
Right.
Like that's the part where I feel like Miles really had me looking sideways at a lot of people, including Issa's character. It's just a weird. It's such a like broy logic, like free thinking, like
It's a
ideal to
really
like end
weird,
up on as Spider-Man, right? Like
it's a
everybody's
really
story got to be
pessimistic.
exactly like mine in order for them to be Spider-Man. And anytime anybody deviates, it means the destruction of everything.
Right. So Lawrence actually has presented an option. And I almost want to like Lawrence, if you want to hop in just for audio, I want you to expand on this because I'm trying to put this together. I like what I'm reading though. After seeing Miles as the Prowler, I think it might be foreshadowing that maybe the Miguel that died was a good Miguel, and he killed him in hopes to take the family, and that might have been the trigger to have the world collapse. And if what he says doesn't happen to Miles, then it would kind of show everyone he was pushing bullshit to cover his tracks. So that actually comes out as a really, really, really deep thought to say that Miguel has this opportunity to jump into all these different universes. He goes into this other universe, kills a Miguel, and steps into his shoes. Because he killed that Miguel, he's the one that actually caused that event. And having a canon event take place where there was no canon event caused a problem. So as a result, they're also saying that, oh, if you stop a canon event, it's the same thing. That is a very...
I can see that. And honestly, if that's the case, if that was the case in the movie at some point and they just kind of alluded to it, like somewhere in the movie, I think I would have liked Miguel better.
At least having reason.
Yeah, at least there would be a reason.
Not justified, but at least an understanding.
Yeah, like you could at least try to explain it.
Yeah, because that might explain the vampire teeth too. Like
that was the now. I need a little bit more detail on that. I was waiting to get something on that.
So I'm sitting here like, because that would just kind of address everything that I said about Miguel. It's like it would explain why he's so tired, why he's so bitey at people. It would explain so much if that was the case. If they at least hinted to something like that in the movie, all of my problems about Miguel would be gone.
Well, you know something that comes to mind immediately? He points out here after seeing Miles as Prowler. Miles and Miles were standing in front of one another.
Right.
In that same universe.
Yeah, because they tried to take our Miles back to his original universe. And because he got bit by the spider, it altered his DNA. So he's from Earth 42, right?
42.
Yeah.
So him going to Earth 42, where there is another Miles Morales, no less. They're standing right next to each other. That by itself is not a canon event, and it didn't cause that universe to collapse instantly. You know what I'm saying? It didn't implode on itself with them standing in front of one another. So it seems very likely that maybe Miguel could have gone to that universe and had a moment, and maybe he, bit that Miguel who was there and took over. And you know what? That definitely leads to implications.
See that That gets your whole brain going now. Hold on.
That does. Now, you know what? Just hearing that also kind of makes me think. I think to address one of the other concerns you had, um, with you were talking about the fight scenes.
Yeah.
Up to this point, Spot is the only air quoting villain that we
Right.
have.
Right.
But Spot is not a. I'm not going to say he's not a fight worthy villain. Spot seems like the kind of villain that you can take out with a good conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like the punches and the kicks don't really seem to be hurting him. And if ultimately his spots are going to get him free, he seems to be able to get out of most contraptions and that sort of thing. It is the closest we got to a fight seems to be this little bit with Miguel. And as they are slowly building Miguel up more and more and more to be the true villain, right? That part. He definitely seems like a henchman, not the supervillain. Now, as he has all this power,
but that's the whole point, right?
Pretty
it's
much.
Like Miles was just, and I thought I thought that was interesting, just like the evolution of a villain and just like villain disrespect. It reminded me a lot of the Lego Batman movie when the Joker was like, "I'm your nemesis," and Batman was just like, "I would say that I in between nemesis right now," and
you mean nothing to me.
Yeah, and so just seeing like how disrespecting a villain just is gonna make him like up his game and be like, "No, like
you're gonna take me serious."
Yeah,
right.
I will say it's always interesting that you have these villains. I saw a comic panel earlier today, as a matter of fact, and it was like, what would be worse, being complimented by Green Goblin or having Superman be disappointed at you?
Ooh.
And it showed this comic panel where the guy was like, "You mean to tell me you built a jetpack in your garage?" And the guy was like, "Well, yeah, the guys at the lab weren't taking me serious." And then Superman is like, "You built a jetpack in your garage, and your first thought was to go do crime?" It just looked so disappointed. It was like, damn, that would kind of suck to have. Not even like, because clearly he's not taking you serious. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, I don't care about you, Superman.
Right? You gonna take feelings on that. Versus being complimented by the Green Goblin, who was telling somebody who's like, "Oh, you did this, you did that. Oh, that's good work. It seems like the kind of thing I would have done." And then he just says like, "Oh, you have nothing to say? You should know I don't hand compliments out on a regular." I'm like, I don't know, being complimented by the Green Goblin doesn't really okay, whatever.
Like
but
that just feels awkward. That
right,
feels
but
awkward.
but having Superman be disappointed in you, like, wow,
that
he
hurts.
he ain't even try to stop your crime. He's disappointed that you doing crime.
Oh,
like,
that's the worst part. He already knows and didn't even find it worth it to stop you. That just
you know what? I'm gonna let you stop yourself because this is just ouch.
That
man. I definitely think that Spot, seeing the evolution of Spot, that has been kind of enjoyable, and we can see him like slowly slipping into madness as his descent gets worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think they did not do that would definitely qualify as a flaw.
Yeah.
The way that they have presented Miguel, unless there's going to be a big reveal later, there is something wrong with the character of Miguel.
Right.
I didn't have as much of a problem with it because I just don't really know that much about him. I had like one Spider-Man 2099 comic growing up.
Oh no, I mean even for this story, even in this movie, because I don't have all the details on Spider-Man 2099 either. But even in this story, they introduce him as a guy with an attitude, a guy with a chip on his shoulder from jump, with no explanation or justification, and it's just like the leader of our super team is the main villain. That's how they've present, like, without saying that, that's what they've said. And so now we're looking and we're like, well, why? Why is he the main villain? You just mad because you mad? You mad because you don't like Miles? Where's this anger for Miles coming from? And I'm definitely with you on that, David. Just like trying to understand, make that make sense. Now maybe there'll be a big reveal, and you know what Lawrence pointed out could definitely lead into that, and it could be something to that.
See, I
Because
thought so. See, this was my thinking. I thought it was going to be the whole like, oh, you don't have what it takes. I'm gonna be tough on you, and then it's gonna like turn around, and I see you're gonna be like a good recruit, and then we're gonna work together. And then when it turned around, oh, he's actually like the main bad guy, and he's like letting his Spider-Man like ideology is jacked up.
right,
I was like, that was a nice little twist, because when I'm thinking they're going to be fist bumping and working together and slingshotting together like they did at the last movie, it's like, no, you're going to have to fight every single Spider-Man in the universe to like get out of here alive. And so I do think like I agree a little bit with what y'all were saying, but I just think like the only thing that's weird to me is why are the rest of the Spider-Man following this guy? Like if it was like Peter B. Parker was like the leader, or the guy who was like, I'm the man in the chair, you know, I got my girl, so I don't go out on missions much. And Miguel was like, oh, I'm like the second in command, but I'm like undermining him, and I'm getting more people on my side, and we staged like a spider coup.
I mean,
I could kind of get something more like that, but
see,
to
then
walk in and he's
would
already in
have
charge.
that would have Miguel taking on Gwen's spot, because Gwen is currently doing the spider coup, and I can already, you know, like they've already kind of painted.
No. But what I'm saying is, in my scenario, the spider coup is them taking it away from Peter B. Parker because he's trying to like let Miles in, and so he would be like, "Nah, you being too soft. He's an anomaly. This that." And the other spiders agree with me, and then you know,
now that I can that if they had presented it that way, I would have been much. Yeah, I would have been good with that.
And just as a piggyback off of to that last point, I felt like just because I was a little bit underwhelmed, as you know, with Miguel being the main antagonist here, I felt like the movie as a result kind of had I mean, it wasn't like a bad ending, but it was kind of it was a tiny bit lackluster.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, to me, that just falls into that same, like, we ended with the to be continued. Once I got over, and see, I grew up in to be continueds.
Yeah.
Will Batman escape? Tune in tomorrow. Same bat channel, same bat time. I'm good
tomorrow. Try next season.
Like,
did Mulder blow up?
I'm still waiting to find out what happens to on No Ordinary Family. The best friend gets on the airplane, and when that plane crashed, like, bruh, we never got a season 2, so I'm like, what the hell? And then, like, exactly, who shot Mr. Burns? Thank you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't. I can deal with the seasonal cliffhanger. I can deal with the cliffhanger of, you know, like if I know another movie's coming out, that kind of thing. And I've told this story before, but when I went to see, it was Christmas Day, we went to go see the first Lord of the Rings movie in theater. At the end of the movie, I was like, WTF. Like, I was so mad at the end of this movie because I was like, where's the rest of the story?
Right.
We're leaving the theater. We're upset. And there's some people walking out. They're like, oh, yeah, it's going to be a 3-part. It's a trilogy they're making. They did all the movies back to back. The next one releases next year. And I was like, okay, well, that makes a lot more sense. When I went to the next movie, I was okay because I knew that they weren't going to wrap the whole story up at the end of that movie, and I wouldn't get it until the third movie. If I saw Into the Spider-Verse and I knew then that it was going to be a trilogy, going into this movie, I could have gone in with slightly less expectation because I know that the conflict would not be resolved. because much like you point out, David, I was in there. I had no concept of time while we were watching the movie. It was just going and going and going. It wasn't until later that, I looked, I was like, damn, the movie, how long was that movie? Oh my God. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then it started kind of making me think like, you know what? We probably could have cut a few scenes. I won't even say scenes. You could have just cut like parts of the scene, like take 30 seconds out here, take 20 seconds out here. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
can't even say like trim the fat. You literally would have been filleting the remainder. You know what I'm saying? Like just
Right.
deboning it at this point because the fat was gone. We got down to the main movie. A lot of what's there has to be there to explain. Having the first hour of the movie just be like talky parts,
Right.
I was okay with that. Once the movie started moving, it kind of moved. And that one segment where Miles is trying to, get back to basically get home, that segment, I wanted a little bit more out of that. Of course, hearing this, hearing that, the internet's a thing. Apparently, it took 4 years to animate that segment. I'm not going to say anything negative about that segment. I have nothing negative to say about that. It was a beautiful segment. It was amazing. I loved being able to like pick out Spider-Man that I knew personally from comics and stuff, from be it comics, video games, or whatever. I liked being able to pick out all of those Spider-Man. That was awesome. There's a couple of videos out there where some of the Easter egg breakdowns, they'll point out a lot of them. If you don't know them, check those out. Those are fun. But it would have been easier to finish that movie if I knew where it was going to end. Like I said, being time blind during that movie, they probably could have snuck another hour in if they were going to resolve it.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at where we are as far as like climbing the hill, I don't feel that we've hit the midpoint of the movie. And I think that's kind of what you were saying earlier, David. Like,
Yeah.
we are not at the... Normally you have like, if we're going to do a trilogy, we have the first movie. Second movie should get us to the peak.
Yeah. So like,
and the third movie can like take us home.
Well, here's the thing about it though. Into the Spider-Verse had a beginning, a middle, action, hit the climax, and then we're down to the end, right?
Right.
And it felt like the movie ended. And then,
yes.
there was like a teaser for like, maybe there's, we're going to have another movie. But if that teaser didn't happen at the end of Into the Spider-Verse, I would have been fine with that just being that movie, right?
As it was a complete movie.
It was a complete movie. But now we're in Across the Spider-Verse, and by the end of the movie, I felt like I was in the middle of the movie. It felt like it didn't end, and then it just ended. I didn't feel like I got my rising climax. I didn't feel like I got a satisfying ending. It just felt like the movie was still supposed to go on, and then the credits roll. Like they forgot half the movie.
You know what's funny? When I went to go see Avengers Infinity War,
mm-hmm.
I knew that Endgame was coming.
Right.
Even though that movie it had a beginning and a thick middle.
Yeah.
It didn't have an end.
Yeah. So
because it had that cliffhanger. But because I knew going in that it wasn't going to be resolved.
So in that particular instance,
okay.
Yeah, in that particular instance, when we have a cliffhanger ending, it still feels like the end of that movie. It's still an ending.
Yeah.
But Across the Spider-Verse didn't feel like it had an ending.
I think that's and I think Jeff had a great suggestion. The video he watched, I think he was saying he watched the video on this one. If they had ended the movie when he got home and hugged his mom, that would have been a good place to end.
Yeah.
So that the movie would have had an ending.
Yeah.
And then right at the beginning, like they could have even done like that would have been where your post-credit scene comes in to show that he's in the wrong universe.
Right.
But the whole conversation with Gwen talking with his parents, because like and I'm really trying to recall. She revealed that he was Spider-Man. So those are some really, really calm ass parents for this random young lady to be walking out their son's room and her saying like, "I'm gonna go find it." Like, come on, nah. You talk about not realistic.
No. Who are you? Like that movie is turning TVMA if it's my mom.
I'm trying to tell you. And it's one of those things. Okay, so DJ he's giving us a little insight there, and that does clarify a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It was meant to be one movie. COVID came out and it gave them time, so they decided to make two movies. They just needed to do a better job announcing that. So when I would go in,
Well, you don't even have to really announce it, because if you do it well in the movie, there's no question about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it like Jeff pointed earlier, you make a good movie, I'm gonna come back and see the third one regardless.
And I mean, and it's the same thing here. Like you made, I'm coming back. Like you got me. I'm here. But like,
I ain't miss it when I went to see. Hold on, DJ, I did not miss that. It does not say Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. It don't say that. It just say Across the Spider-Verse.
It was not something I feel like they really heavily advertised either. I was actually genuinely shocked.
Yeah,
that it was like because when we showed up and she was like, it's not he's in the wrong world. I was like, wait a minute, like I thought we was about to be wrapping this thing up. Like
so like because the movie ended, I was like, all right, cool. Well, that was good. A little bit of time. Now I can go home and just kind of chill before bed. She's like, no, Linda was like, no, you need to go to bed as soon as you get home. I'm like, why you say that? Like, it's past midnight. Or like, what?
Yeah.
What the hell you mean?
I definitely think that Prowler reveal, like having that moment where Miles on the punching bag, that would have been a post-credit scene that would have had everybody hype. And I think that would have been even better as an in-credit scene, actually.
Yeah.
Not even a, you know what I'm saying, like a mid-credit. That needed to be like, you come, you wait to the end, and then you just have like, but that whole conversation, like, and that's one of those moments where it's like, for them to end on that moment, they did a lot of conversation, a lot of dragging those 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Those 5 or 10 minutes it just drugged that out to give me nothing.
I would also like to just reiterate that this did not like kill the enjoyment of the movie for me. Like, it was still a really good movie. Like at the end of the day, the journey was amazing. The destination, not so much, but the journey was balling.
I mean,
it's like you got to the destination, but they haven't finished setting up yet.
Yeah.
And you know what? Okay. I'm looking at this as just like an unexpected layover.
Yeah, there you
go. I was on a flight.
I'll take that.
We have an emergency landing, and they're going to find me a reconnecting flight. That's what it was.
Take that. I can take that.
That's what, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, because I know I'm going to a dope place, it's not like I'm going to be like, well, just cancel the vacation, take me
right,
home.
Yeah.
No, it's like, take me where I was going.
Like, I already paid for the hotel over there. I'm
exactly. And I'm already invested.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
I'm just going to get there a little bit later. That's fine. Sure.
And so let's the parallel that Miles was based on Donald Glover, who was also a Prowler. You know what? I did like
I like that.
Having him in this movie as Prowler. I think if they really wanted to go a step further on the meta. So Brian Michael Bendis has come out and actually stated that he, the character was created as a response to, like, he saw Donald Glover as Troy Baker in Community wearing a Spider-Man costume. And that was what inspired the creation of the character Miles Morales. That, that is I'm not going to say like a known thing, but that is a very common fact. A lot of people are aware of that. The creator has stated that. So It's not just something that we like to say. That's what it is. When Donald Glover showed up in Homecoming as Aaron Davis, you know, that was a thing. There was a petition for Donald Glover to be Peter Parker when the Amazing Spider-Man was being made. Like when they were production was getting started on that, and that ended up going to Andrew Garfield, who I think did a great job. So I'm not taking anything away from him, but I would very much have been interested in seeing what Donald Glover would have brought to that character, because Donald Glover is a very unique actor. He's just a very unique actor, and I would be very interested to see what he does with that character given the opportunity. But because that petition did not work out, and those, you know, that request went unfounded, that did not happen. And then later on, we get Miles Morales, which is the answer to what if Donald Glover was Spider-Man.
Right.
Having him come in and be Aaron Davis is a nice little throwback to the original character from, and that's the only connection that I think people are making, because he was Aaron Davis instead of having nephew Miles in Homecoming. That, of course, makes us think that that is, in fact, the same.
And he's buying weapons.
Right. That makes us think that
was just like the dude at the grocery
same
store.
But it's possible that could still be like different people. So we've covered the good. Everybody's enjoyed the movie. We discussed some of the flaws, and honestly, it seems like our flaws are they're not quite nitpicks. They're legitimate, but none of these are deal breakers. You know what I'm saying? Like, none of these are deal breakers. But let's put it on a scale to 10, and let's just give it a score. Let's go around the table and give it a score. I started us off. I thought it was almost a perfect film. It does get a 9.5 because, like I said, ultimately it was long. There were moments I felt just kind of winded, and I did not like that it left on a to be continued. I just really like to have one story. Hell, I'll sit and watch a 4-hour movie if it's good. Wink, nod. So that was my issue, but that was my only flaw. So it got a 9.5 from me. David, if you had to give it a numeric value, how would you score this movie?
I think I'm with you with that one. I think a 9.5 is good. Like, it's almost perfect except that one thing.
Yeah,
it's almost perfect.
The things I have flaws with, there was obviously reason for it. You know, we didn't get as much Hobie as I would have liked, but
yeah,
Hobie will probably be a main player in the next one, you know. But I noticed they got the band back together. I'm using that phrase specifically. They got the band back together, so I'm curious to see how it works out in the next one. And I thought that was actually a really, really nifty little payoff. We added a few people, Spider Bites in there. You know, I had a whole Jeff, I think you tweeted something that I was like, I didn't really notice or pay attention to until I sat and watched the movie, and then it kind of made sense. I'm waiting on Jessica to switch sides. I feel like since we got Jessica, Spider-Bite, Hobie, I'm sure there's probably one or two in there because they all, you know, they kept their mask on. We don't know. But I do think it's very interesting, the group of people who have all agreed to help Miles. And I don't think that's an accident.
Right. Absolutely not.
You know, and I think that is a really nice social commentary point. So do better. Jeff, numeric value 1 through 10. Where would you put this movie?
10 for me.
So we got a 9.5, a 9.5, and a 10.
Because I think, for me, I think it's one of those where it's like, with art, there is no such thing as perfection, right? There's always going to be something that you can like nitpick. I think also coming on the back of like such a successful prequel to this, you're waiting for people are waiting for you to fuck up.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not just like this movie is not just one of those where it's like, oh, he, whatever. It's like it's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of people who was looking at this movie and they're just like, you got to do it right. And then when they did it right, it's like, okay, if you're gonna do it again, you got to do it right again. And for
Right.
me, they did it right 2 times. They showed the character respect. They showed all the characters respect. In my opinion, the art was just phenomenal, and even with all the things that we can look at and say like, yeah, this was kind of an issue. It's like that's just us being like nobody wants to sit down and listen to us just like, oh my god, this movie was just like the perfectest, most perfect. Like you're gonna have some sort of critique. You know what I'm saying? Because we're artists and we're creators in our own right, and
Right.
we have things that we notice, and
I mean,
just
and I
putting our opinion
definitely,
out there. But I still, for me, I gotta go 10, man. I just
That's fair. That's fair.
I for what I want in a film and for what I'm looking for, I couldn't ask for nothing else, nothing more. Like I was thoroughly like satisfied, placated, whatever other like SAT words you want to use in substitute for the word satisfaction. I felt those things watching this film, and so yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
I mean, that's good stuff. I got no issue. For those of you in the chat, if you want to give us just your numerical value on a scale of 1 to 10, where you would put it, and feel free to leave comments if you want to, throw some comments on the video and let us know what you thought. Jeff, how are we coming along in that video? I mean, on that picture. You about done? Can we show it here?
Final steps right
Okay.
now.
Yeah, I see you. I saw the mark. I thought you might have been signing. It looked like you were touching up. So I'm gonna
Nah,
look up
this
some
stuff right
synonyms
out.
for enjoyed. No, we'll find some other SAT words for the word enjoyed.
You want me to send you a picture
Uh,
really quick?
yeah, if you do that, then I can put it up there for you. So you are not alone. We have another one. We give it an 8. DJ Fat Snacks gives it an 8.
He's strict.
But I will say, like, he is strict, but he like I don't think there's a movie he don't see. Now, on the one hand, he's strict, but he's
That's
also very
why. That's why he's
generous.
so strict. He sees too many movies.
Right. He's also very generous because he'll give everybody money. You know what I'm saying?
It
Like, you
should
got a
be some
movie.
movies. It should be some movies that you just haven't seen, and that's okay.
Uh,
Every nerd got to stand in the middle of a circle of people and argue with them about why they don't need to see something. It's a rite of passage. The nerd gauntlet.
okay. See, he's an AMC A list. See, I'm a
Oh,
I'm a
excuse
Stubbs
me.
member. I'm a Stubbs member. I get my discount. I collect points, but I'm not getting like 3 free movies a week. I don't even have the time to go see 3 free movies a week.
Hell no.
Uh, no, I'm with you though. Definitely get your money's worth. I do want to point out we got Damien. Damien is putting out that for him this movie. Let's see. He says this movie has everything he needed as well. He for sure loved every single bit of this movie, and he saw it twice just to make sure. He gave it a 10. Um, we got Lawrence here. Lawrence is saying it was a 9, kept him entertained all the way through. Animation and art style was top notch. He's also someone who's could certainly appreciate all of the art, the artistic aspect.
Yeah.
So, definitely there with it. Now, as one of the comic nerds and comic geeks, you know what I'm saying, I was like thinking about that okay, this will add this in. That new TMNT screener got a standing ovation with the similar art style. Oh, okay. That's what's up. It's funny because I
You
actually
saw the
had,
whole movie? Who said that?
uh,
Whoever said that, you saw the whole movie, or are you talking about the trailer?
I think I actually had I had a screener passes for that. Hell, I had screener passes for the Flash,
Oh,
but I was
screener like they were showing the movie.
yeah,
Oh, that's
whole
tight.
movie.
I'm excited about this new Turtles movie. I just sent you the picture, Sam.
All right.
Think you're gonna like it.
Yo. Yes. Okay. Let me. Boom. Let's get that. I'm gonna put this right here. Put this in my live notes folder. Booyah. There we we go. And there we go. I bet, yo. That's dope, man. that is so dope. Can I get that as a shirt?
Sure. Why not?
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
besides licensing rules, but yeah.
Ooh, I wonder if I could. Ooh, I'm not gonna do that. I was like, I wonder if I could put that on our springs and make a.
I'm doing a few more pieces, and then I'm gonna have some prints available, and then I'm gonna have the originals available for people. I think I'm gonna just put up like an auction, and if people want to bid on it on my Instagram, you can have the original of this.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that. God damn, that's awesome.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. I tried to do like, because I didn't want to do, I was going to do him with, I'm going to do some with him without the mask too. But
Right.
all the ones that I've done so far have people in their masks. So I didn't want to like, and I feel like he's like the one who would be like, we didn't put me in my mask, bro. So, but I did try to like, I like alluded to the locks with the little pattern on the right hand side.
Right.
Gave him the rose quartz dreads.
All right, I am copying. I don't know why, Damon. I don't know why you're So one of our viewers, I'm seeing his comments in our Facebook chat, but I'm not seeing them on the broadcast chat. So I'm not able to bring your comments on screen. But he does say that he needs you. Damien says he needs you to send him the link so he can bid on it.
Okay.
So, we'll make it a point. You know what? When he puts these up, we'll pin a post in our group. And Damien is one of our members. Awesome. Thank you. Love it. But for those of you who are not and need to join in our group, there's a QR code right there. You can click that. That'll bring you across. You can find us on all our socials. And we've got... See, and I kind of want to make it the group header, but I don't want anybody to screenshot and steal it.
Yeah.
It happens.
That's the only reason I don't do it.
Look, man. All I ask is people just tag me. But at the end of the day, when it comes to the arts, people be stealing. And AI going AI. And
but see, that's why we can't feed the machine. Okay, we're not giving the machine this kind of goodness. Ooh, you know what? I could put a watermark on that for you. I mean, you know what? Hold on. I'll be
posting it on my Instagram and my Twitter and stuff.
I was just about to say, hold on. Let me explain. Okay, Jeff, Lawrence, Jeff. Y'all two are the reason I can do any of the graphic shit that I do. He could absolutely do that if he wanted to put it up there. So all I have to do is get his permission to make it the group header, and if he's good with it, then the shit's going up.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So like, as far as like, me sitting up here being, see, Lawrence got me feeling kind of good, like the new images that we have and the title cards that we have. I give all that credit to Lawrence teaching me how to use that stuff and go in and set that up. So now the reason shit don't look the same every single time, Lawrence and I sit and we play on Discord and he teaches me how to do some stuff. So it's much appreciated. I send some stuff to Jeff, like, what do you think of this? And I'm getting like praised by Jeff, like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. Looks good. I'm like, oh shit, Jeff like it. I did good. And that's where I'm at with it, So it's like, let's see. They do. I used to steal my brother's art when I was in middle school. Wasn't no internet, so people thought I had to steal the actual paper. You know what? I remember I used to take I was in this one class, and because we it was my study hall. And I was about to say, we would always just like hang around, dick around in class. We used to actually get pictures and put them on the overhead projector and then take a piece of paper and put it up on the board, and you would draw like that so that you were tracing without actually tracing. And, people would think you was
No,
like really, really talented.
tracing. I always tell people this: tracing is actually a very important skill and helps me a lot in my day to day work. Like if I have to draw, like the other day, I had to draw. I'm working on a project. I had to draw SpongeBob as a drum major. Now they don't have SpongeBob in the drum major outfit, but they do have him in this pose that looked like a drum major. So I just had to trace over the SpongeBob parts and then add the drum major stuff to it. Because
Oh,
I mean,
that
you're
goes
not
on
gonna.
a little halftime show. I can see that. Just put the drum out in front of him. He can either be part of the marching band or he can just like be holding the stick up because he got the leg up anyway. I would, So yeah, I mean, tracing is one of those things. Like when I was younger, everybody traced. It was cool. The one guy who didn't trace anything, he was the local artist. He was the one friend that, everybody was like, oh yeah, he could draw real good, dog. Like,
That was me.
you know what I'm saying? Like, no, he could like for real draw.
It
Like,
was only a couple of times where it was like, there's a new kid at school and he can draw better than me. But I was always friends with those kids anyway because I could draw well enough. I think that's the thing I like about like being an artist, like going to like a black high school. Like everybody just thought it was, even if they didn't think you was the coolest person, it just was like, dang, like drawing, like the fact that you could draw is cool. And like, I need you to draw this for me or draw that for me. So
oh yeah,
a lot of us, we kind of were just like, we had like a good community together at my high school of the kids who could draw.
y'all was art club. I'm at
No, like
399. You know what? I'm gonna just throw it out there. Look, folks, I've been looking. I'm sitting at 399 followers on the TikTok. Grown A Geeks TikTok only has 399 followers. Let's get that 400. If you are not following me currently, click that QR code right there. Let me get that one follow to make it 400. Then I can be on my road to 500 so we can do lives on the TikTok as well. Tell me what you want me to post. I promise I'll put some good content up. I've been trying to keep it entertaining. Let's see what's Lawrence has got here. Growing up was an icebreaker to making friends. Oh, oh, you like Goku? Bam. You draw a Goku and you got an immediate friend. Yeah, I will say, like, I remember I throw it out there when I was in let's see, it was middle school. So it couldn't be eighth grade. It was either sixth grade or seventh grade. There was this kid in my school named Enoch Taylor. And Enoch was like an amazing artist. We were in band together. And we actually had a 3-panel comic strip in our school newspaper that ran for like I think we had a month's worth of comics. Like it ran for we had like maybe 5 or 6 panels in the it was like 5 or 6 panels, so it might have been like 2 months it ran in the school paper. And it was because Enoch could in fact, hey, what's going on, Evac Ginger Cat? What's going on, Evac? Because Enoch could draw, and I like to think that I'm funny. We wrote out little 3-panel comics, and he was trying to tell like a whole superhero story. Of course, I was down with that. Hell yeah, let's do it. And it was one of those things where it was like clearly the buildup was going to take too long, and it was going to be maybe too much commitment for like 6th and 7th graders trying to run a strip.
Yeah.
But school newspaper. I remember that, Conyers Middle School. And it started off from something just like that. You like Dragon Ball? Actually, we were talking about, no, it was superheroes, and he was drawing superheroes. So yeah,
Wolverine, Gambit. Those are my go-tos because that's what everybody wanted you to draw the most when I was coming up.
Yep. And Evac Ginger Cat. So I think like I've got what David, tell me let me see if I've got anybody we can actually raid. Soul Taker Plays. So tell me how I do this raid thing.
Oh, you just do /raid, right? Yeah.
/raid. And then do I type their name or
Yeah.
do I need a space?
Yeah, you need a space. Yeah.
Ticker. There we go. So I ain't got much, but I'm gonna raid with my two people. We gonna every little bit. We gonna show some love to my man over here because they have a movie show that they do on Twitch every Monday, and I be jumping in that sometimes because they talk about cool stuff. And there we go. Oh no, did it do it? I can't tell if it rated or not.
Did you tell it to raid, or you'd have the countdown still?
Oh no, it's actually just showing me their stream.
Oh, then yeah, it rated out.
Am I?
Like
Yeah.
you'll still be live until you end the stream, but you rated out to the other person.
Okay, cool. That's what I wanted to do, just so he can Soul take a play. So shout out to him. He does follow on the Twitch, so we'll give him some love since he happens to be live. But folks, that's going to be our show tonight. No, Pickle's telling me it didn't raid. It didn't raid, but that's fine because if it didn't, I'm still live. I'll just go back to it and we'll figure it out. We'll get it again. Boom. Let's try this again. So slash
DJ Fat Snacks. We're gonna talk about that Shanique comment on our MCU episode of Therapy. So let me know if you want to come and be on that episode.
Oh, okay. Now it says, okay, the raid has been created and now it's showing. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Peace. There we go. Got that one up. All right. Boom. 4 viewers are ready to raid. There we go. We're raiding with 4 viewers.
And there it is. I see it popped up.
There we go. Bet. All right. Want to get that love because we want to get that love back. And there we go. They were last talking. And he's playing Overwatch, so we'll let him do his Overwatch thing. But yeah, so that's going to be our show, and that will be the next thing we air. I got to get in touch with Ty. We've got a fan casted we got to do. And
what is our next fan casted? Have we picked?
We've not officially picked technically, and only because we're freeing up the schedule. I like doing the first Wednesday, second Wednesday, but we've been consistent. Like we know our show is on Wednesday. We could just decide what we want to do before that Wednesday comes. If I can get in touch with D, then I'll see about doing another. Why did I watch that? Or just depending on when she's on again, I'll let her like make a pick on what she wants to participate on. But our next fan casted was we had talked about. It was one of yours because it was Steven Universe and another one. We did Gargoyles. So I think the other one we talked about was Steven Universe, and we were giving Ty time to watch through Steven Universe. So if he's actually caught up on Steven Universe, we'll let him jump in for the live.
So either that, or we could do like X-Men.
We can, you know what? Both of you had X-Men on the list.
We had a 2. I think X-Men was a 2-episode one.
X-Men was a 2-episode. David could do Steven Universe.
Yeah.
We could fill David in for Steven Universe. He used to dance at the studio I worked in back in the day. So I would almost be okay with everyone's voice casting being their live action. You know what? We going into free talk now. Let me pull the spoiler down. We just we going into free talk. If y'all with it, I'm with it because I'm good. So I've seen a lot of stuff where they've asked Haley Steinfeld, where they talked to her about her potentially being the live action Gwen. And she was like, "Of course I'd do it. I'd jump at the chance to do that." And that goes without saying. You know, I'm always fascinated when people like report. They give reports like, "Oh, so and so said they would like to this or like to that." I'm like, "Oh wow!" So the article is basically actor would like work. That's what I
Right.
hear.
Actor would love to play a prominent role that they are specifically suited to play.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't ever think it's, anybody. Like there's a few times where you hear like it's a bigger news story for somebody to be like, "Oh yeah, I don't want to be James Bond because it's such a, you know, it's ooh, it's a strain on the body, it's a 4-year commitment, it's whatever the case." Okay, cool. That's a news story. But then it's like when you start getting into, "Oh, this actor thought it would be fun to play this role because it would be work for them." That's duh, obviously. And that's kind of what I see when I hear stuff like that. But I will say, in this particular case, I'm actually I am more okay than I thought with everyone who's doing the voice acting to take on the role of the character they voice act. I would be okay with Issa Rae as Jessica Drew. I would be okay with Oscar Isaac as Miguel O'Hara. I would be okay with Haley Steinfeld as Gwen. But I'm gonna need her to commit and get the haircut. I need the undercut. If Gwen, if she don't, if Haley don't get the undercut, I gotta question it all.
I'm not doing. I'm not. Here's the thing. Shamik is a hard no for me because
What?
I need a Miles that I can put in more than one movie, and he's a grown ass man.
Yeah,
Like
Oh yeah.
period, point blank. Like I don't know if he older than Tom Holland, but he look older than Tom Holland.
Shamika's like 30, bro.
So absolutely, like
You're not gonna convince me he's playing a 15 or 16-year-old.
like if you want to be Uncle Aaron from another dimension, if you want to be like you can be in it, but nah. Or you could play like a role where you like do one of them like how Linda Carter was in Superwoman as the president of the United States.
Oh yeah.
Like you can have like one of them like prestige roles where we like thank you for your service. Here's a check. Here's a recurring role. But like
No, I mean, I'd go
actually
as far as
teenage
to
Miles
say,
Morales, no.
I go as far as to say, like, put him in the multiverse and let him be, let him be an older, seasoned Miles. Like when they did that episode of Justice League where they had him.
Miles Beyond. Can we just get Miles right now first before?
But I'm saying
Beyond?
that's the only way. I'm just making it make sense.
If we gonna get to Miles Beyond, sure, I'm with it. But I don't want that to be the first Miles that I see in the MCU personally. And then on Haley, it's like, my good ma'am, you are already an Avenger.
Yeah.
So is this going to be her in the Sony universe and they don't cross over? Is it going to be like Evan Peters, where in one universe he Quicksilver, in another universe he just some regular dude? And so in one universe, Haley Steinfeld is Hawkeye. In another universe, Haley Steinfeld is Gwen Stacy, Spider-Woman. Like
Right.
that clump of DNA has like incredibly good luck across the multiverses to be like two completely different, unrelated superheroes. I would like to see Dove Cameron in the role personally.
Okay, I could see that. Yeah.
If I was going to cast outside of the culture, which I don't do.
Honestly, just about everybody.
Hold on, let me look up a black woman who could play.
God damn it!
Actually, I know exactly who I'm gonna get to do it too. Hold on.
And see, and since Zendaya been, she can't do it, even though she can still look really
She's too
young.
tall.
Now, some of the comments here is that Shamik, if he shaves his beard, he could actually look younger.
Look 25.
He would still look like a young adult. He would not look like a teenager to me. I think
that's my whole point. It's like Lexi Underwood.
Lexi Underwood.
Yep.
Let's see.
She was in Sam. If you want to add to your list of musicals, she was in a musical called Sneakerella, which is on Disney Plus. It's basically a Cinderella story, but about a boy who loves sneakers. And she plays the like love interest. She's the princess. She's the daughter of like this basketball player who like has the best selling sneaker on the market. So he like wins a contest and they meet and hilarity ensues, but
Huh.
it's not great.
I'm looking at this Chosen Jacobs and like, what was his acting like in Sneakerella?
A little corny,
Okay,
but he wasn't bad.
I'm
But
just
he could
looking
play.
at him. And
He could play. He could play. He could maybe play Miles.
I'm like, hell,
But
he
he's
looks like
21.
Miles.
He's a little. He's not scrawny enough. I'll put it like that. Like
Gotcha.
he's a little more solid.
So he's after the bite.
He's Miles now. Like he would be good for like a second movie, Miles. Like whoever they cast as Miles, I feel like it's gonna have to be somebody who's no older than like, depending on when you're gonna bring him on. He can't be older than like 18, 19. Because you're gonna be asking him to play 15 to start off. And the only other thing is like, so they gonna bring Miles in? Are they gonna kill Tom Holland Spider-Man off to do that? Because people are gonna be mad.
See, I don't necessarily think that he will be
In this universe.
Yeah, it'll be a while.
You think he's gonna come in? So like, you think live action Miles is gonna come over as part of like some crisis event, and like maybe the Peter Parker, and maybe it's maybe it's what's the name? The first Spider-Man.
Peter B.
No, Tobey Maguire.
Oh, Tobey Maguire. You know what? If Tobey were the one to pass, he could be the one that would, yeah. His death could definitely spawn an opening for that would be what, the Raimi verse. Yeah. So having Miles exist in the Raimi verse. Yeah, see, and that's one of those things where it's like, you know what, if you ask Sam Raimi if he'd be interested, movie director shows interest in directing movie.
Right? No. He's not directing the movie. We just using the world that he built as a canvas to tell our story on. We thank you for your service, Sam Raimi. We'll send you whatever residual checks we need to send you for whatever contributions you made that we use in our film. But nah, he won't.
I mean, honestly, with the exception, there would only be like a handful of Easter eggs that would probably make it into the Miles film.
Right.
Just because of location.
Their overlap is not
right.
that
I was
much.
Like,
anyway.
given where they are,
yeah,
their proximity wouldn't be such that you would even have to really worry about that same crossover, so to speak.
Plus, if we keeping it a black person gotta direct. This movie.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Lord and Miller got away with writing these two because they did a good job on that first one. But you know, when that live action come, they ain't Marvel's nothing but consistent when it comes to like doing stuff like that. And I feel like I'd be curious to see who they would pick for something like that. Because I feel like it's a story about a kid from Brooklyn who's a superhero. And when I think of black directors, there's like only really one who I would want to like tell a story about like kids from the inner city New York. But I would just worry about what Spike Lee would really end up doing to the
I,
movie.
I promise you, as soon as you said
We
innocent,
not swinging
I was like, yeah.
like my dog. We not swinging listening to jazz. Like it's not.
I mean, but you know
It
what?
could be interesting for a scene,
You
but
get,
not the whole soundtrack, my boy.
I feel like in a situation like that, you get Spike Lee to produce. Give him the insight to, give production notes and things like that, steering guide, and let him choose who he would want to direct. I think doing that gives the right outward vision, puts the right eyes on it to say what will and won't work, and gives the right authority if we need to make some changes when the changes need to be made.
You know what? You know who I'm suggest for not director, but director of photography. Hype Williams.
Oh yes. Oh, I
I
ain't
just
seen Hype
wanted to
in a minute,
look
but
like something.
yeah, I'd be
I
with that.
just I just wanted to look like something. And I wanted to feel crazy. I just wanted to feel like more money, more problems.
Yeah, we're gonna
But
have the
yeah, man.
reflective aluminum foil costume villains because that'd
Yeah,
be
like
perfect.
I
That'd be
was talking
perfect
to
for the
somebody
spot.
about the other day, just like how just like the lack of music videos has just like stunted, I think, a lot of the growth of like a lot of filmmakers of color, just because like making music videos was a good way to like get in the door in terms of like filmmaking, getting on music video sets, learning how to be a professional. And now it's kind of just like everything, you can shoot everything with the iPhone, and like nobody's getting like this. Well, and BET don't play music videos all day. Not a time period bottom. Maybe he'll bring that back. But yeah,
I'd
man, we
be,
need.
I'd be with it. Ain't
But yeah,
seen these videos in a
I think
minute.
the whole prospect of bringing Miles. I feel like now bringing Miles in is going to be more difficult than bringing in the X-Men.
Yeah, I mean, well, we wouldn't be able to see Miles until I think the only way we would see Miles in the MCU is we won't see him until Secret Wars, and it would be
But that's soon, bruh. Because think about it like this. Think about who they have amassed already. We got we got our Hawkeye, Kate Bishop,
right.
right? We got uh I don't mean to be what's her name? White, not white, white wit. I always want to call her White Canary, but Black Widow little sister,
Oh yeah, Yelena.
Yelena, right? We got Miss Marvel. We've already seen who can play Patriot,
Yeah,
right? Like all these characters that's supposed to. We got Captain America, Sam Wilson. You
I mean,
know,
technically the only people we would still need would be like Hulkling, but he's going to be
we
CGI, so it
saw
almost
him.
doesn't matter.
We saw him in She Hulk.
No, that was Scar.
Who?
That was the Hulk's son.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
But we need
But we
Hulkling
did
'cause we
hear. But
have we
didn't
have Wiccan in his brother,
yeah.
and
So
so
basically, we have
yeah,
everybody but Miles. So
correct.
it can't be that much longer. Otherwise, they all gonna be 30 and Miles gonna be 15. And I'm not with this little brother shit no more. I need Miles interacting with people like his age
Yeah,
and like being able to step to like the forefront in terms of being like a voice and a leader within that group. And it's one of those things where it's like I wonder, is it harder now because they've already gotten us to fall in love with Miles in like these two movies, and they've brought him up. He's not in Young Avengers, DJ Fast, but he is in All New, All Different. And what they seem to be building is a hybrid of Young Avengers and All New, All Different Avengers. So we're gonna have to see Miles soon. The only person who's not gonna be there is Kate Foster. That's her name?
which character?
Padme. Thor girlfriend. Lady Thor.
Jane Foster.
Jane Foster, sorry.
And when you said Padme, I was like, Padme? You mean Padme from Star Wars?
You know, yeah.
Oh, Natalie Portman. Oh, Jane Foster. Like, see, I had to connect them dots. Like, yeah. Oh, her. Yeah, Jane Foster. Yeah. I don't know. I think the casting, it would work out well to even go with someone, one of the one of the unknowns from. There was that New Edition made for TV movie. There was a young man who was on that. He would work.
Yeah, but like that's what I'm saying. All them dudes is getting older.
True.
Like that New Edition movie was like
it was a couple years
ago. 5 years ago.
Right. But I mean he was a little kid on that. Well, not a little kid, but you know what I'm saying? If he
but think about it. The youngest dude, the
12,
the
13.
little
Yeah,
black boy from
he's right at 18 now. So I get what you're saying.
Like the little black dude from Stranger Things. He was one of the little kids, New Editions in that. And like, look at him now. That's a grown man.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, that's the only reason Caleb McLaughlin doesn't come up in the conversation anymore. Because he's right at that point of being too old.
Yeah. And not even too old to like be in a Miles movie, but too old for them to be able to say, like, we need to be able to get you in like 5 or 6 movies over the next 5 or 6 years. And you probably not getting your second Miles movie until like 2-3 years from now. So what are you going to look like at 23? Are you going to be able to still look? You'll be able to pull off 18 at 23. You'll be able to pull off 21 at 27, 28. So who knows how flawed these Marvel timelines are. And we could be asking you to play 6 months from now in 3 years. Because that's what in the Spider-Man one, like the blip, he came back. It was supposed to be like yesterday. But it's been 5 years.
So he got to look the same.
It's been 5 years of time elapsed, but it's also been like a few years in real life elapsed. So you're supposed to go back and look like yesterday, and everybody can't go back and look like yesterday 5 years from now. Like,
I mean, hell, Caleb McLaughlin looks so grown now.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like
he's not even really going to pass for, even if they was shooting the movie right now. My man beard is.
And I also just don't see his personality as one. Like, I feel like he would be a good like friend or a good, you know what I mean? But I feel like Miles is a little more like awkward. Like you could tell he getting to it. Like he young, he famous, and maybe he a good actor, but the way he be carrying himself, he be getting to it. And Miles don't be getting to it. And we all adults, we know you can tell the little ones who walk around getting to it and the ones who ain't. And I ain't know what that meant when I was growing up. My aunt told me, she was like, yeah, we knew when you and all your cousins started getting to it individually because it's like it was in your walk. You just walk different.
Let's say your swag is different. Like I promised. Yeah, see, to go back even further, like we could tell when you started smelling yourself.
DJ Fat Snacks, if you think we're not going to see a Miles Morales movie until 2030 with all the money on the table to be made from that, I don't know what to tell you. Drop the strain in the chat so I can avoid it because you're too high right now.
So the question then becomes, and not being funny, like this is just a legit question. Does Sony own the exclusive rights to Miles Morales as well? Like only Sony Animation and Sony Pictures can put out Miles Morales?
Basically, they own the right to Spider-Man. Because Miles Morales is Spider-Man, technically you can't really tell a story without. And that's why, like, if you look at some of the like media for like little kids, Spider, like he gets Spin and Kid Iraq, they give him all these like little side code names because if they have to do it, they will just put him out there and call him Spin and try to get over on legal whatever. Because the whole plan was they actually were planning to basically just skip Peter Parker and go straight to 2 Miles a few years ago. And then the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies didn't do that well. And they came to the table like, all right, we're willing to like do like basically let y'all have the creative control if we do like and then I think the failure of this Venom Morbius villain verse thing is gonna make them have to just come to the table, and it's like, okay, we'll bring your Venom over, and you know, we respect that actor. He hasn't been anybody in our universe, but like, nah, man, you can't. You're not gonna sit on Miles for 7 years. Nah, it's not gonna happen. It can't. And with the characters who you've seen, they've already set up. You can tell that there is a Miles contingency plan in the works somewhere. Like, I can't believe. I don't think they're gonna go around and end up on a second Kate Bishop, a second Kamala Khan to tell these like Miles stories unless they're gonna just let Sony do it. And I don't see them doing that either. I mean, you got Ironheart in there. I mean, you basically got everybody's there. Essentially, we've seen on screen except for Miles. Secret Wars don't have to come out till 2029. I'm not saying the Miles Morales solo movie, but I'm saying even a mention of him, a picture of him, a cameo at
a live action showing
the same way Nick Fury used to showed up at the end of Iron Man. Even if it's just that, he got to be young enough now to where if they show him now and they talk about putting out a movie with him in 2029, he gonna have to. I mean, unless you're gonna show like an 8-year-old and be like, "Yeah, this is my nephew Miles."
Or you just show a picture of someone now, and then later on, when you're actually about to do production, then you start your casting, so you're casting fresh. That would be the way it goes.
And I'm gonna say this: just change the story. I don't care. I don't need it to follow the comics.
Right.
Make the next Spider-Man movie. Miles is the new Spider-Man, and him and Peter trying to teach him, and Miles on one something. Just do whatever. Just make it interesting. Make it good. Who cares about the comics? No offense. Like, you don't. I feel like at this point, Marvel has the Marvel Cinematic Universe has established itself as enough of its own thing to where you can use for inspiration, but if you need to deviate even further, go for it. That's how I feel, because
there's a well-established history at this point, canonically, that because they've strayed, and it's still gonna, they still have to do the licensing credit at the end. Spider-Man created by this character, created by Peter Parker, created by, they still have to do that part. And since they got to do that part, as long as they do that, they can do whatever the hell they want to do. They just have to stay true to the MCU at that point. It no longer stands to be they have to follow this comic, that comic, the other comic. Because even with there's only been one comic book movie that I can think of. I mean, somebody would have to I'll throw this out there as a challenge. There has not been a comic book movie that can say that it was a scene-for-scene recreation of a comic. Watchmen is the closest we get.
He tried.
I was about to say Watchmen is the closest
tried.
we get, but everything else is in some form or fashion an interpretation. It is loosely based on. And there's nothing wrong with that. And, that's why we get those fan service moments where we get the splash panel. We get that one image of the, it could be the cover art or whatever the case would be. Because I remember, how many times have I talked about Civil War? The comic series that was Civil War, that's an omnibus by itself. That's like 10 actual graphic novels, and we shrunk that shit down into 2 hours. We had 10 people on a tarmac versus the 200 that was supposed to be at war. And I get it. It's because we hadn't built out the whole 200 superhero roster. But when you come down and you have these 10 people fighting, the spirit was there, the feeling was there. All that's cool. It didn't look like anything that you saw in the comics. But you get down to the end where you have Tony fighting Iron Man, and he goes to shoot his repulsor, and he holds up that shield at the same time. They have that clash. That is Civil War. And because they have that fan service moment, we overlooked a lot of the other shit that we saw. Because we would have been pissed off at that point, and then we have that moment, and it makes us feel a certain way, and it lets us overlook other stuff. And they do that in a lot of the movies. So yeah, I'm with it. As long as they stay true to their universe and they keep the canon the same in their universe, do it.
So what if they said, okay, we just not gonna kill Tom Holland Spider-Man either? I mean, they're gonna kill him eventually. Like Tom Holland gonna get tired of playing Spider-Man. He already tired of it. He want to do serious stuff. I can tell.
You see, he was real quick to be like, yeah, they should absolutely make a Miles Morales movie. I've read that and I'm like, yeah, he'd have made enough Spider-Man money. He good. He want to do something else.
He like, look, man, I came in, I did my 3 movies, I brought Spider-Man back, and I pulled Zendaya. What more is there? What more is there for me to do with this Spider-Man role?
I'm
But
honestly,
you haven't fought Venom yet.
It's really getting to the point where you're gonna get into that middle age, like. And the funny thing is, it would work with Spider-Man because, like, if they bring him back to do a movie, say 2 years from now, where he is a little bit older, okay, now he works at the Daily Bugle. Now he's a photographer, freelance. Now he's of the age that most comic Spider-Man is. You know what I'm saying? Like having the high school, early teenage Spider-Man, that was something new and different. That was kind of based on what we got from the Disney show. You know what I'm saying?
I think what they did too with like some of the formatting. I'm interested. What I would be interested in is taking some of these. Like I feel like they kind of have this tier of like these characters are for TV, these characters are for movies, and I just am like Spider-Man is a TV show. In my opinion, right? Like the reason why the movies got so crazy is because the movie has to be crazy, right? Like I'm not going to the movie theater to watch this motherfucker not be able to pay his rent. You know what I mean? I need you to be strapped to the side of a rocket going to outer space talking to Tony Stark about what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of stakes I'm going to the movies to see. But at the heart of Spider-Man, like we kind of talked about earlier, is just this regular dude who had this power thrust upon him, and he is doing the best that he can to use it responsibly. Like, do you remember that show? Do you remember this show called Early Edition?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guy gets the newspaper and it has whatever tragic event.
Yeah, he gets the newspaper a day early. And he spends his day basically trying to like prevent the tragedy of the headline. The paper headline changes like all day throughout the day as he like does different things. So obviously he messes up the first time. The headline gets worse, yada yada, whoop de whoop. But in between that, he's trying to run a restaurant, and he has his friends that he's friends with, and you know, a blind black lady who's his neighbor who is also his friend, and a random cat who brings you know what I mean? Like, and he's trying to pay his rent, and he's trying to date, and he's trying to do all these like other little things here and there as he prevents some major city-sized catastrophe that would be on a city newspaper. Spider-Man is this weird hybrid street level, and like Spider-Man's involved in everything.
Right.
And I think the thing that Marvel hasn't shown him be involved in yet is that street level. And that street level, everyday quips, this and that, you just stop in the robbery type look is the thing that I would find interesting to watch Tom Holland do. And I think that would be something that him as an actor, he would like that much more because he would get to spend more time as like Peter Parker interacting with different people and not just like I'm a high school boy who doesn't know how to like talk to girls and I'm weird and you know what I mean? It's like you're a little more grown. You know what I'm saying? You done been through a lot. Can't talk to nobody about it.
You found out how
Essentially,
your webbing works.
yeah, right.
Like you
So
know that your webbing is not biological.
right.
No,
So I think, but I feel like they would never do it because they would just be like, yeah, there's too much money to be made at the box office with Spider Man,
Yeah.
and so who cares about the art, right?
not when there's billions to be made.
Right.
It could definitely. I think that street level hero part is that is a very key comment. And that works on a couple of different facets. And the first thing that came to mind is like, you know what? I think that's why the Spider-Man TV show, the cartoon animated series, that's why that did so well. I think that's why Batman the animated series does so well because these characters, they are trying to save a city. They are capable of assisting with saving the world, but generally speaking, it's not a galactic threat that is the problem for these characters. And that's why these characters are a bit more relatable. I mean, hell, I'm a huge Superman fan. And the number one thing that I hear people talk about with Batman is like, oh, you can actually be Batman. Okay, you got to be a billionaire to be Batman. But yeah,
Right.
I suppose you could.
Like you closer to being Superman than you are being Batman.
I'm trying
Just
to tell
keeping it
you.
a buck.
I'm trying to tell you. But you know what I'm saying? The reality is, that seems to oftentimes be one of the conversations people like to have is, the possibility because he is at the end of the day, quote unquote, just a man. He's human. There's that element of reality and possibility. So that street level villain that he's taken on, you know what I'm saying? Like when he fights the Riddler and has to answer these stupid questions and gets trapped in a room with gas filling up and has to answer these puzzles before he passes out. Like that's the same dude that you gonna put the fate of the universe on. Like the whole world has to be protected by that guy who got trapped in. Let's talk about how he got trapped in that room to start.
Yeah.
That's
His
the guy
like
that you want.
this man villain is a clown with a crowbar. Like, and I know that's like super reductive, but
But
essentially,
but if we got to put like
all your yeah.
that's one of them triggering things. But the point that I'm making, because I can definitely tangent that piece. The point I'm making is that the success of a character like Spider-Man, the success of a character like Batman came a large part through their animated series, and it came through their comic stories where we do see this character more on the street level. You know what I'm saying? Every super villain doesn't have to have a take over the world plot to get their attention. And I think that's even one of the things that's kind of being picked on as we talk about this character of Spot, who's not, really being taken serious as a villain because Miles is just coming in like, hey, okay, let me capture this guy. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it's routine, and it's not until he gets to
Am I not
recognize
worth it?
You know what I'm saying? Not until he gets recognized, like, okay, I need to take this a little more serious. Hell, Electro went left the way he did because he didn't think nobody took him serious. Now, he wasn't going villain route right away, but he was like overlooked. He felt invisible. Didn't feel like anybody noticed him. You know what I'm saying? Spot got taken out by a bagel in the first movie. He felt some kind of way about that damn bagel. Because that was one of the first things he brought up. Do you even remember me? You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like everybody has to try to convince. No, you're a great villain. Really? That's the conversation we having.
Right.
That's the type of thing. I agree with you. That would work really, really well in a serial format where we can have, 3-4 episodes building up to this thing because it's only going to affect the city and not the whole world. And it's not that serious. You know what I'm saying?
10-episode series. Tom Holland training Miles.
There you go. That, you know what? That could be where we get our live action Miles right there.
Because I think it's one of those things. It's interesting because it's like I feel like Marvel's doing this thing where it's like you don't have like I feel like Marvel was doing this thing before. It was like you got to watch everything, and now it's kind of like you don't have to watch everything, but we try to just make it. We try to make it good enough to where if you didn't watch it before, when you see the Easter egg, you go back and watch it later. And so I feel like it's this weird balance of like how they're going to be tying the shows and the movies together. I mean, that's been an issue they've been had. What's her name? Daisy, not Daisy. Her name on the show was Daisy, but on the girl from what was it called? Agents of Shield. You know, there was like a lot of conversation around Agents of Shield about how like they got treated basically like the redheaded stepchildren because they were not quote unquote like canon. And they were making, I think, you know, in the beginning, because when they were trying to be canon and they were trying to be part of this MCU world, it's like, well, you're showing me like the least interesting part of this world that I don't care about. But they started making like good stuff and they started telling good stories. And I think the shortness of some of those Disney Plus shows is a testament to what they learned on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because they started off doing these big, long, season-long arcs. And then they were like, you know what? We got small vignettes. And they had like the LMD saga. They had the saga where the girl got sent to another random planet by the, what's it called? The monolith. And all these crazy like stories that were just like intertwined. The whole Inhuman saga basically was sparked by that show, which, you know, that show, I wonder, she said she's going to be in the MCU. I wonder what's going to happen with this. I'm still curious about what's going to happen with this Inhuman versus mutant thing, because they were killing off all the mutants because they didn't think they were going to have the rights to bring them in the movies, and they were going to try to bring the Inhumans in. But now they got mutants back,
took place, and
now they're trying to make Ms. Marvel the mutant now. And like, I'm just wondering like how she's going to fit into the MCU because she's technically an Inhuman, unless it's a convergence event and we got Inhumans, we got mutants, we got.
Well, you know, they left it open at the end of Ms. Marvel that she is a mutant and not an Inhuman. And since hers was cosmic power and not the Terrigen Mist, you know what I'm saying? They kind of strayed away from that. Yeah. They went heavy cosmic. And so her power even coming from the bangle. And then since they even changed her power set and her capabilities, again, inspired by, not based on. So it's open, and they definitely have some options, the way they could go, how they could move forward. I was curious, like I said, if it was an exclusive Sony thing, but like you said, since they have the rights to the title name Spider-Man, any character that identifies as Spider-Man or is any character,
like they can show Miles Morales. No, they can show Miles Morales. They just cannot use the name Spider-Man in the MCU without Sony's permission.
That's what I'm saying. Any character that identifies as Spider-Man or is identified as Spider-Man, they can't do Spider-Man. No. They can't do Spider-Man.
But they could show like Miles, and he could be like in his costume, and he could be whoopity whoop around, but they would just have to call him something else.
Hey, they'll just call him Miles the whole time.
So that's what I was saying. On the kid shows, like on the show my son watches, he's Spin. And then on another one, he was Kid Arachnid. And part of that is so that like you can't have a show with multiple spider people and everybody answering the Spider-Man. Because they were in these shows, they like all the same age and they friends and go to school together and stuff like that. It's not like Peter Parker's the grizzled veteran and he's showing these kids, but they all in high school or they all little kids. So
I
But
mean,
they
hell,
were basically testing names out for
in
if they
whatever
had to
cartoon
rename
that
themselves.
Miles exists in, Peter is only like college age. Like
No, there's one where they're literally in high school together. The like last Spider-Man cartoon that Disney did on the channel, they're like in high school together.
okay. I know if you take the game by Insomniac, that's a fantastic game.
Mm-hmm.
He's not that much older than
Yeah,
Miles there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they can have the age proximity can exist. I don't know. It'll probably be a while. Hopefully it's not too long. And I don't think anybody that is perfectly cast now is going to be the appropriate cast by the time the movie comes out. Um, Unless they do go with one of the much younger actors and you end up finding like, oh yeah, he was on this Disney Channel show for a season. You know,
yeah, for
past that,
sure.
nobody
Because
stands out right away. I don't really like. I can't think of a like the kid that was in Fast X. I don't know that I've seen that kid in anything. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't remember that actor's name. Now the next time I see him in something and he's a little bit older, I may recall that I saw him in Fast X. But it would have to be a movie led by a little kid where the little kid's character is the main character for that to stand out. And there's not a Miles Morales styled character that comes to mind at this time. So it'll be some looking. It'll take a little time to get us there. Um, I'm curious.
probably be an unknown.
I would love to see it. I'd be with it. I'm down. David Drake Bell played Spider Punk. I don't know who that is right off. That would be one I'd have to look up. David Drake Bell. It's funny.
Drake Bell, like from Josh and Drake.
I'm trying to figure out what he says. Like,
Yeah, I'm not familiar.
I know Drake Bell from Josh and Drake.
Yeah.
But I thought he played Spider-Man. He did a voice of Spider-Man in one of in the last cartoon, I think.
let's see. Maybe he did multi voice. Oh, okay. See, punctuation matters. There was supposed to be a comma. It
Yeah,
says,
man. Use
well,
punctuation.
David, comma, Drake Bell played Spider Punk in that same show. Gotcha. Okay, we back on page now.
Okay.
Okay, Janet von Schmeling. Okay, see that. Let me close this window because I get on the whole little like sidebar. My ADHD will kick in. I start reading stuff that ain't got nothing to do with what we're talking about. Yeah, I think we can get there before 2030. I think it'll ultimately end up being an unknown. I think it will be shortly after Secret Wars, as that would be the most appropriate time. But as we are so close, like you said, Jeff, as we're so close to Secret Wars coming out, if they haven't already started production, then we kind of like we behind
Just
eight ball.
because we haven't heard nothing doesn't mean nothing happened.
Agree.
Because when I used to go into the meetings, they would be like, "Yeah, here's what we got so far, and here's who's going to be in it, and we got the director. They've been scouting locations for the past 2 years, and blah blah blah, and whoop, whoop. And that's before anything official about any actor agreeing to a role has been like
Oh, yeah.
even signed on paper sometimes. So, or I'm not signed on paper, but like contracts have been signed, but like, and
Before that
then Marvel NDAs ain't no joke.
Oh no, I believe it. And even before the announcement, and like I said, they continue to revise that scheduled timeline of releases and this and that. And for a while everything was shut down. They had to rethink how everything was going to get done, and now shit is opening back up, and they back to making their money. And they probably getting some, some go aheads on some stuff they wasn't getting go aheads on before. So they're having to, revise and fix this and fix that. And I think they are starting to invest a little bit more time. They are starting to put a little bit more effort into some of the projects that are out there. And that's all companies, that's all studios. I think that's probably the main reason why, they're not going to scrap the Flash movie. That, and I think that just would have been too big a loss, especially after the merger, since they had already taken so much of a acquisition loss with everything they did scrap and pull and close and shut down. Since they already had all that written off, it's too little too late for them to try to like back out of some of this other stuff that they planned and expected to move forward, not knowing that shit was going to go the way it was going to go. Because I think if hindsight's 2020, they probably would have scrapped the Flash and pushed back Batgirl.
Right.
If they had known that that was where they were going to be.
No.
I
don't think so.
I think
they would have still scrapped Batgirl. Because they
early
didn't want to
enough.
play it. They already was dealing with Black Batwoman on CW. They ain't want to. I feel like that was kind of one of the nails in the coffin. I was just like, do we really want to go through this again with Batwoman for a universe that is not part of no universe? Then it's gonna come out. It's gonna do good. Black people are gonna go see it, and we're gonna have to make another one, or justify why we not making another one, even though all these black people wanted to see the first one.
I think if the
It's my conspiracy theories.
No, and I'm with you. I'm with you. I think that when we first got the announcement for the Flash, and what I'm saying, back some years ago when because even before we first talked about it, it was like, it's too early to do Flashpoint and this and that. If they had known that they were going to be at this point when they had that first acquisition, they would have cut it then. Before they had announced Michael Keaton, before they had some of the tie-ins, before they had some of the guarantees. Truthfully, I feel like it's one of those things where, as I've been kind of studying how some stuff works, Michael Keaton is probably one of those people that's like, let me take 2 points on the back end for this movie. Not necessarily you got to pay me $20 million to be in it. It's like, no, let me get, I'll take like a $10 million or $5 million paycheck, but let me get 2 points on the back, 3 points on the back end.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then just knowing that he gets to come in and do a line, and that's why they've already delivered the line. It's like, you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts. How are we getting that line already? I could understand if you're saying Michael Keaton.
I'm like, please come see this movie.
You know what I'm saying? I get we're getting Michael Keaton back as Batman, so you present, yes. It's like, oh my God, who is that? I'm Batman. Like that's iconic. That's his line. That's the thing. You have Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton has to say that. Cool. It would have been nice to hold off and save the come on, let's get nuts. Save that for the movie. You know what I'm saying? But they've all but damn near. They just need to go ahead and leak the movie themselves. Because while they're like, oh, we're only doing one big premiere, bro, I done got at least 3 screener access tickets sent to me. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, just because of when those showings are, I haven't been able to go. But I know 3 people that have already seen the movie in theaters.
The Flash?
Yeah.
And?
All of them like it.
That's cool. I mean, shitty people make good stuff.
You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm actually a little shocked But then again, I'm not as shocked because it's like it seems like you would really want to try to hold off on giving tickets away for this movie because you need to make as much money as you can on this
Mhm.
because they're not making a whole lot of money on these free screenings. But then
Nah,
again,
first one is free.
but actually, no, because the free screenings aren't from the studio. The free screenings are from this company, that company, or the other company who probably had to buy the theater for that. So they done made those ticket sales for that theater. Because ain't none of them in my local area, and I don't have like I have to show up, be there on early enough, get in line, and
Yeah.
I'm on the list. And as long
Yeah.
as I'm ahead and the seats are available, boom, me and my guests, we can go watch it. I used to do screeners all the time. I'm like part of 5, 6, 7 groups, and I get all types of tickets. I would have gone to the Spider-Verse one just because I would have gone to that one. I've actually I'm not interested in going to the Flash one. I want to wait. I want to go after it opens, and I want to be in a theater with other people who plan to go and see the movie. I don't want to go with the people who came to see the movie because it was free, because they didn't have to pay nothing. They not gonna be the ones to enjoy the movie. I want to go with the people who paying their hard-earned money, so to speak, and are going on, the Thursday night crowd, the Friday night crowd, the I would even deal with the actually I don't want to do Saturday midday because that's when the people taking kids. But I would do like the Saturday 6 o'clock.
Saturday morning.
Right.
That's my
Like,
time to go.
you know what I'm saying? I do like that Saturday 6 o'clock crowd.
See, now I don't want to be out with the people on dates. But maybe it's different out here too, because I didn't grow up going to the movies a whole lot. So my movie habits formed in LA when I got married. Like that was something me and my wife just would like do all the time. And so we started going Saturday morning, like 10 a.m. It's like you never smell fresher air in LA. It's like you don't have to worry about
And I
parking,
imagine you
no
probably get
kids.
best seats.
Yeah, because we would go to the ArcLight, the dome one, and so that first showing, that first showing on release weekend was always like Saturday morning, 10 o'clock. So go in, get my seats at the dome. I knew exactly where I wanted to sit because they got the lower section, and then they got the back section is like raised up. So I know the first two seats in the middle back section. Hardly anybody gonna be there. Definitely gonna be no kids there because no parents is getting up that early in LA to get all their kids together to go to a movie. So usually it would be like industry people. Like I would see like famous people in there in the mornings. Like I think when I went to see Batman v Superman, like Scott Ackerman was sitting on the same row as me.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so the morning movie, they come out, go get you some lunch, and you got the rest of your day. Like you got something to talk about at lunch with your lady.
Yeah.
You still do errands rather than like later in the day what we would always run into is like, okay, yeah, and then the day get away from you and you're like rushing to try to get to the movie. Then you can't find parking. Then you sitting there, then you can't get snacks. Now you sitting in the movie hungry and mad because you left 5 minutes late.
Yeah, I've seen that. And see, like for us, if it's not a date night movie for me and the wife, then it is in fact something that we're doing like we are catching a matinee. I don't like now that they've started like seat selection in the movie theater, like I have to buy all my tickets early. I have to buy my because if I can't sit where I want to sit, then we're not going to that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Like,
Hey, I'm gonna dip out and get a little tired.
actually, yeah. All right, man. We'll holler at you. We're gonna be
You
cutting
guys-
here in just a second as well.
Everybody take care. I'm out of here.
All right, man. I'm gonna need that jacket though, or at least a link so I can get me one.
I'll get Linda to send it to you.
Cool.
All right.
But yeah, it's like now that we gotta like select our seats and things like that. I've always been kind of picky about my seats. You know what I'm saying? My dad used to have a theory, and he was like, movies are shot from the right, so you want to sit middle left and blah blah blah. And I have to be like just high enough, so that you want to be able to see the entire screen, but you need to be able to see over people, blah blah blah. So it's like I haven't been short all my life. It's like I sit more close to the front. I got my spot. This is where I sit when I go to the movies. And if I don't sit there, the further away from that seat, the less I enjoy it. Like it,
Yeah.
I can do the row in front or the row behind it, and I can do 1 to 2 seats off center. Anything past that, it's like I can't. I'm gonna have gripes with the movie the whole time. Only
Yeah.
rare exception is I can sit all the way at the top of the theater where I'm kind of like looking down, because then I can like get comfy.
Yeah.
But usually for that kind of movie, it's like wasn't nobody in there, and I can sit wherever I wanted to anyway. I don't know how it's gonna work this week though. I I told the wife, I was like, "Hey, Flash come out this week. What we doing?"
Just gotta buy 2 tickets and get in the car.
Well, this is one of those. I told her, I was like, "Look, clear your schedule. It's Father's Day weekend. That's what I want to do." Okay. So that'll be my excuse. And you know what? I think we'll take your advice, and I would take one of those early Sunday shows, so I can go get the movie out the way, have the rest of my day. Don't have to worry about nothing getting away from me. It'll work, because I don't know if I'm gonna be able to convince her to go tomorrow night.
Yeah.
If I can make that happen, that's what we're gonna do. But otherwise, it'll probably be like a Sunday morning. Well, man, that was Across the Spider-Verse. We went across the comic verse just now, as we tend to do. But good stuff. Good stuff. I would be interested in seeing like some casting. So we may have to come back and cast a Miles Morales movie. We can do the mom, the dad, and see how everybody going look and what it'll actually be. Might have to add that to the list. We'll check into it. But in the meantime, you be sure to add us to your list. Click that QR code, join our group, find us on Facebook and all of our socials. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. If you've made it to this part of the video, I want you to know we really appreciate everything you do and everything you are. We will catch you next time. For Jeff and Sam, we are Grown A Geeks, and we are out of here. Peace.